It was not a planned mission. We got out there and the team leader briefed us up. I don't even know how, but he's like, we got solid intel. Dude is in the cabin right over that hill, and he has this young woman hostage. If we don't do this real quick, someone's gonna die. So we started planning. Or what we'll normally do is we split up into two teams, and we'll have a deliberate hostage rescue plan and a hasty hostage rescue plan. And before we can really start going into too much, there's a gunshot. That was it. The command post just gave us execute, execute, execute.
So you've got a host of stories from the book that are pretty high-level SWAT operations. You could kind of share in detail to give people an idea of the other missions detailed in the book.
There's one it's called Tactical Surveillance and Interdiction. It's a
Team Dog, premium meals designed to keep your dog healthy, happy, and strong, to improve digestion, boost energy, and support a shiny coat. Non-GMO ingredients. No fillers, no gluten, no corn, no seed oils, and no soy. Just pure, high-quality ingredients to fuel your dog's best life. It was crafted by experts, made for your dog, Navy SEAL K-9 trainer, and nutritionists. Team Dog Food, where no piece goes to waste.
All right, guys, just wrapped up a fascinating episode with a 21-year FBI SWAT sniper investigator, Jeremy Rebmann. We talk about a lot of things that you've heard about in the media recently, including the Charlie Kirk assassination from an FBI sniper perspective. I didn't want to get too in the weeds on dissecting every single thing, but I wanted to get his take on it, which he provided some significant, I think, perspective that was valuable for me at least, and I think it will be for you too. Shared a number of stories operationally, sniper shots, SWAT, hostage rescues, I mean, you name it. Decades on an FBI SWAT team. Just a wealth of experience and missions that he shared, including his book, Send Me, which is out now. I do really think you guys will like it. We talk about current leadership, morale, issues plaguing the FBI, and kind of where it's headed and where it needs to be, and dispel some of the myths and rumors in relation to it. So hope you guys enjoy it. I know I sure did, and we'll see you in there. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, it's both an honor and a pleasure to welcome my next guest to the podcast. He's a former FBI agent, counterintelligence and sniper team lead. He's a captain in the Air Force Special Operations Command, president of Cobalt Ballistics, and the author of Send Me, Chronicles of an FBI Sniper. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Jeremy Rebmann.
Thanks, brother.
I imagine a lot of people, when they hear your name, they think it's Redmond and not Rebmann.
Oh,
right?
100%.
Like almost all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's the last full book that you've read?
C.S. Lewis, The Problem of Pain.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you read Mere Christianity from him?
Yeah.
What a timeless author. I've not read The Problem with Pain, but is there or was there a singular takeaway from that for you?
I like, I think you'll understand this. Like, if you see a lot of bad stuff, and like I'm a follower of Christ, so how do I match those things up? Like a good God in a world that's full of a lot of really pretty crappy stuff. Mm-hmm. And I probably won't get this quite right, but there's this analogy he uses in the book where he talks about, this is perfect for you, actually, because the analogy is about a dog owner and his dog. And the owner really loves his dog, and so he wants to shower him with love and affection. So he just lets him do anything he wants. You can poop in the house. I'll clean it up for you. I'll feed you as much as you want. You can get as fat as you want. You can jump on the guests. Like anything you want, because I love you that much. And then the dog ends up being unlovable and tied up outside a lot. And so he draws this analogy of like, if the master loves the dog with discipline, the dog becomes more lovable. And then having been disciplined, poop outside, don't jump on the guests, he ends up sleeping at the foot of the bed of the master. And it really helped me with just coming to terms with seeing horrible stuff in the world and realizing like, oh, it could totally be that God is putting some things in my life and other people's life because he's disciplining us to bring us like to the fulfillment of being better people. And as a dog lover, I just love that analogy. Like, it made so much sense for me. Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, because it's something that I find in the dog industry, I would say way more so with pet dog owners than, working handlers, because I think just inherently the genetics of the dog kind of forces you to be more balanced in how you approach taking care of them. But in pet dogs, like, it's rampant that way, and I love that analogy. I've used not one to even God, I've used a far more crass analogy, which is, which really resonates with women especially, is, if you, like, let's say you're at a bar, in a bar scene, and an attractive, high value guy is, throwing attention at you and, super interested in you, and you love all that stuff, and you give him or give yourself to him, just very easily. Is he going to enjoy that? Of course he is. Is he going to want more of it? Absolutely he will. Is he going to respect you for it? No. And that's the thing that usually clicks in dog owners' minds, men and women, because they can certainly understand both sides of it. But I think it's kind of similar that way, where the selfish love, it's giving somebody so much autonomy and so many things that it's actually counterproductive. To me, though, what's confusing about I think I would say religion, generally speaking, whether you're talking about Christianity, Judaism, or Islam. I don't know enough about Hinduism or Buddhism to be able to draw a comparison, but there is an element of, can you parallel free will that we're given to letting the dog run completely loose and just expecting the dog to discipline itself? To me, that's the confusing part of it, or the part that makes me have a hard time trying to reconcile it. Because if we're made in the image of God, and we're all His children. Are you a parent?
Yeah.
You have multiple kids?
We got one.
Okay. Well, let's say you have multiple. You can probably put yourself in their shoes. Is that, if one child has a 2x4 with nails sticking out of it and they're getting ready to smack the other one with it, are you going to step in? Yeah. So why doesn't he? Now, I'm not saying that I even doubt, like, in the last, collectively several years, I have grown or have come more full circle back into faith and have started exploring it way heavier than I have in over 20 years, very, very recently, and I really enjoy it, and it's becoming more and more a part of who I am, I think. I still struggle with that one thing, though, is that, to me, like, trying to rationalize it. Maybe it's not rational, maybe it's so far above and beyond what we can comprehend that it's not going to make sense until maybe you die, or who knows. But have you ever thought of it that way?
So, so you're kind of saying, like, God doesn't intervene when He should?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Again, it's like there's so many ways to look at it, and because to me, on the one hand, there's the, like, well, why wouldn't you jump in? Mm-hmm. On the other hand, there's the element of, again, using a parallel to relationships, forced obedience isn't obedience,
right?
And it's not special either.
Right.
It's like, if, in a relationship, like, being desired or, loved because they're choosing to do it is what makes it special, So I don't know if that's the way to look at it. I just, it's hard to figure it all out.
Yeah, I get that. It's hard when someone dies, whether it's a friend of yours or a friend of a friend's. Like, we have that feeling like, well, that's wrong, it's bad. It feels almost to me like we know way in our soul that we're not supposed to die. Like, we know that our spirit is supposed. With all different religions have reincarnation, or you become one with a master tree or whatever, But we all have this, like, we know we're not supposed to die, but then we all know we're going to. So we just sort of have this expectation, like death is only okay if it's at 100 years old, comfortably in your bed.
Yeah.
All other death is, why couldn't God prevent this? And that's the way, I guess that's the way I look at it. We're all going to die. We're almost all so bad. We're all going to die of like a car wreck or cancer or heart attack. Like, it's grim. So the more I come to terms with that, actually, the more at peace I feel.
Yeah.
Like, we're all going to die, and most of us are going to die a terrible death. So what do I do between?
Most of us?
It's terrible. It's true. Like, I guess we like to think about the, like, grandpa dies in his bed, but dude, Google the statistics. It's awful how,
Yeah.
So knowing that there's no way around that, I actually have more peace in, like, knowing if we're all going to die, then why get so mad about death? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree.
You know,
I mean,
it's hard to-
Yeah, I mean, fearing it is counterproductive.
right.
I agree with that. I do think, I mean, if the average life expectancy is, 77 here in the United States, I think, like, just statistically, I think it would be hard to justify that most people die a horrible death that's earlier than they thought. But I understand what you mean. Far more people than you think, because I think the expectation is, to your point, you've lived a full and fulfilling life that satiated everything that you wanted to do. But
Yeah.
if time travel were possible, where and when would you go?
If it was permanent?
No, and
okay.
also you can go forward or back, and it's just to observe, not change something.
Gotcha. Oh, man. I think I'd probably go back to earliest known civilization. Like, I would love to know what it looked like when humans were still figuring out language and writing, and we guess a lot at what we think that was like for Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal, but to go back and actually see that, I think would be great.
Yeah.
Now, if it was to go back and live, it'd probably be like the late 80s.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. Yeah, I miss the 80s for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite quote?
I do. John Stuart Mill. War is an ugly thing, but not the ugliest of things. The decayed and degraded state of moral and patriotic feeling, which thinks that nothing is worth war, is much worse. The person who has nothing for which he's willing to fight, nothing which is more important than his own personal safety, is a miserable creature, and has no chance of being free unless made and kept so by the exertion of better men than himself.
It's impressive that you have that memorized.
They crammed that down my throat when I was in the Air Force, so...
And it still managed to be your favorite quote, even though they force-fed it to you.
Dude, like, that one meant something to me.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in no one in my family really was soldier or a cop or any sort of sheepdog. Like, my parents were professors, and I was the weirdo that from the outset wanted to do some sort of law enforcement military job. So I think John Stuart Mill saying, like, war is an ugly thing, but it's not the ugliest.
Yeah.
It's that sad, pathetic state of, like, I only care about me.
Yeah.
Is actually worse than war.
Yeah, not even being willing to fight for freedom. I agree. And unfortunately, you see a fair bit of that woven into society at this point. What was your favorite thing to do growing up?
Probably shoot my BB gun.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'd go shoot acorns off of trees and see how far I could shoot targets. I probably put thousands around through my BB gun.
Yeah. Was that a thing you did with your dad or siblings or anything, or was it totally solo?
No, a lot. It was either on my own or like maybe with my cousins at their ranch or something. But my dad took off when I was 2. That relationship broke up when I was 2. So he did buy me the BB gun when I was visiting him. My mom was mortified.
Yeah.
But that was my prized possession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, where are you from?
Well, I grew up in Oklahoma. I was actually born in Florida when my folks were together. And then shortly after they divorced, my mom moved back to Oklahoma. And so I grew up there up through high school.
Yeah. And where you're at now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually made it back home.
Oh, wow. Did you have siblings?
I have a big sister,
Yeah.
6 years older than me, that's my best friend.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And so I assume then that your mom moved to Oklahoma, and it was just you, your sister, and her.
Yeah, and her sisters, my aunts, and my grandparents. So I think she moved back to have some family, raising kids as a single mom.
Yeah. What was the catalyst growing up that made you decide that you wanted to join the military and being such kind of an odd man out comparative to the rest of your family?
I think it's innate. I think mostly I think I was built that way. I knew I wanted to do something, and I looked at all the services, and there were some formative things, like, we got robbed and had our tires stolen off our car, and several instances of injustice like that, where I thought, man, if I could ever do that job, I will pour myself into it. Like, I really want to prevent and solve crimes. But I think even despite that, I grew up just thinking about, G.I. Joe and what kind of gun I would want to carry, and that was,
Was there like an actual moment that you remember 100% this is what I'm doing, or was it just kind of I always felt that way?
When I was in early grade school, I remember having pictures of the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds. Had this huge diagram of the space shuttle. So no, not one specific moment. It's as far back as I can remember. Loved aviation, loved the military.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was it the love of aviation that made you say, I want to be in the Air Force?
It was.
Yeah.
It was. I remember going to all the recruiters, and they've all got airplanes.
Yeah.
Like, I was down to fly. I mean, an Army Apache would be amazing.
Yeah.
I'd fly that in a heartbeat. And I remember the Army recruiter was like, I need to hear you say, the first and foremost, you want to be an Army officer. And I was like, I'm not saying that. I want an Apache. This is what I want.
Yeah.
And
what a weird way to go about recruiting.
yeah, the kind of got the, like, I don't know if the Navy guy was in the day I went. The Marine Corps recruiter, I remember telling me, like, you have to enlist. It's the only way to become an aviator in the Marine Corps is to enlist. You have to enlist, and then you go through OCS, and then you can become a pilot.
Yeah.
I was like, that's 100% not true, dude. I know that's not true. I know ROTC is a thing.
Yeah.
And then, the Air Force recruiter was like, yeah, we have all the planes, man.
Yeah.
Do if you want to fly planes, go here. And if you really want to fly planes, go to the Air Force Academy, because they get 80, 90% of the pilot slots.
Yeah. So what was the next step then?
I started applying for the Air Force Academy when I was a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
Because you have to be appointed and nominated, and the nomination has to come from a congressman. And I came from a low-income, little house, little family in Oklahoma. We didn't know anybody. So I just started writing letters to my congressman if I made a touchdown or I got a good score on an ACT or whatever. I kind of joke that it probably took me because I had the biggest file. 'Cause I just would. So for years, I just sent stuff to my congressman, like, remember me, I want to go to the Air Force Academy. And then it turns out, all three, both my senators and my representative, all three of them nominated me. That was the step, is getting into the Air Force Academy so I could get a pilot slot.
Yeah. And can you kind of just walk us through that whole process of the early few years of that part of your career?
The Air Force?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I went to the Air Force Academy on a guaranteed pilot slot, and my vision went 2060, and I got a waiver. They were like, got a guaranteed slot, 2060 is as bad as you can get. I joined in the fat and happy Reagan-Bush era, and then Clinton got in office, and they just hacked, I think, 600 and something of the 850 pilot slots. They just said, hey, listen, almost all of the class of 93 and 94, almost none of you are going to pilot training. We'd find something else. And so that wasn't the cards. Like, I genuinely believe that was God closing doors. And so I thought, well, I'll be a Sortie Generation Officer, the dude on the flight line, kicking tires, lighting fires, get to play with missiles and rockets and load cannons. I was like, that'd be cool. I get to be outside, get to be around a lot of other guys, and it's a really, really hard job. I remember being in base housing, and my wife was like, why is it you're gone 12 hours a day, and the dude across the street works like 5 or 6 hours a day? And I was around what I wanted every day. So I'm around these beautiful jets that I can only maintain. And so I was deployed overseas. We were flying over the no-fly zone in Iraq. And I was calling my wife on the old school sat phones with like the 5-second delay and telling her, like, I'm done. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with my life, but this is not it. And she, like, coincidentally said, hey, there's this new guy that I think you'd be good friends with in our Bible study named Adrian, and he's a OSI special agent. I was like, all right, cool. And when I got back, he and I hit it off. He started telling me about the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, and they picked me up real quick. I think they picked me up within 6 months. And when I started doing that, I was like, oh, this is what I want to do.
And for the listener, can you kind of synopsize what the gist of that office is?
Yeah, I've having been in the FBI and OSI, I feel like I can confidently say OSI is effectively the FBI of the Air Force. So
Okay.
they're plainclothes officer, civilian, and NCO, and they do criminal counterintelligence, sophisticated investigations, anti-terrorism. It's plainclothes, but there's a rank structure. And they were actually, the FBI helped form OSI in the early days when the Air Force became its own branch.
Yeah. So is OSI then primarily focused on inter-Air Force, like personnel investigations, or does the anti-terrorism stuff also spill out into potential terrorism plots on Air Force personnel or bases or whatever? Like, is it kind of a combination?
I think if I answer your question right, the OSI was careful to say that they had an anti-terrorism program, and the FBI has a counterterrorism program. So OSI's perspective was we were going to run sources and collect intelligence for force protection, and whatever resources we need to use, we'll use those to protect the forces. Whereas the FBI and counterintelligence will actually go seek and find and destroy, and proactively go find and dismantle terrorists themselves. And that's sort of the line between, and I think that's partly in the civilian side too. Like OSI stops at not arresting civilians because of posse comitatus. So if there was a E4 on base selling speed to mechanics, we would absolutely arrest him. And the guy's taking it. But then if we found out his dealer was this dude off base, then we'd call the FBI or the DEA.
Yeah.
So we're not going to arrest civilians.
So I imagine you built relationships with FBI and DEA during that time, and it was a pretty easy pretty easy transfer over into the FBI.
It was literally, so we were talking about, we were running an embezzlement case, and a pretty high-placed civilian on base. He was managing all this property on base, and when he would rotate in out, like televisions and furniture or whatever, he would just keep the surplus, all of it. Like warehouses full of TVs and sofas, and just thought he was above the law. And so when we found out about it, we investigated it, and we didn't have the capability to arrest him because he's a civilian. So we called the FBI office down the road in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. And those guys came over, and they were thrilled. They were like, this case is wrapped up. All we have to do is basically
Grab him.
Yeah, we basically read the warrant, agree with it, go grab this guy, and take
Credit.
pretty big chunk of credit
Yeah.
for the Air Force's investigation. And after a couple cases with those guys, they were like, hey, man, you ought to join.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of the draw to the dark side
Yeah.
for me.
And so how many years were you in the Air Force doing the OSI stuff?
I was in OSI for almost 3 years, and I was in Sortie Generation for almost 3 years.
Okay. So once you decide, hey, I want to go to the FBI, how long of a process was that to get in?
They told me to expect a year or two. I lucked out. I think I got totally accepted, background check done, and a date at Quantico in 9 months.
Wow.
That was considered blazing fast. There were guys in my class that their background took 2 years. Yeah.
I mean, I only imagine being OSI in the Air Force is going to make their job a lot easier to get you in quicker. Yeah. So what year did you actually enter the FBI?
1999.
99.
Yep.
I'm curious both what the first couple of years was like, and then also where you were at and how 9/11 impacted your job.
Yeah. My first office was Norman, Oklahoma, which I was shocked with. They told our whole class, the whole class before you went to New York, your whole class is going to New York. You'll have an assignment night where you can pick and choose what you want, but just buckle down. Y'all are going to New York. And so I called my wife and told her, I'm like, we knew this was coming. They can send us anywhere. The Bureau doesn't like to send people home. They want you to go somewhere new. And I did ask, like, where's home for me? Because I was born in Florida and I got my dad's side in Florida. I was stationed in Florida when you guys recruited me. But my mom and her side of the family is in Oklahoma. Where's home? And they said, well, probably Florida. You can't go back to Florida. So I put on my list Dallas, Kansas City, Denver, Oklahoma City, and I didn't think I was going to get any of it. I thought I was going to New York, so on assignment night, you have to open an envelope and you have to hand the letter opener to the dude next to you because they don't want you to stab yourself with it. That's kind of the jokes. You open it and then you have to give it. And then you open it and then a lot of guys will read and they don't even know where they're going. Like they're like Springfield. Like what state is that in?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. So I opened mine up and it's Norman, Oklahoma, which is where my wife grew up.
Wow.
And so I went and called her. This is 2-3 months into Quantico, and I went and called her and I was like, she's visiting her mom in Norman, Oklahoma. I was like, babe, while you're there, look for a house.
Yeah, unpack your shit.
She's like, you call me when you're ready to be serious. Bam! I had to call her back then, right? I had to get my phone card out and put the code in. And I was like, hey, no, seriously. I got Norman, Oklahoma. And so I had drug her around all over the U.S. We'd gone to North Dakota and Florida, and I'd been to D.C. twice and overseas. So she just couldn't believe it. She was like, really? I get to go home? So the early years, pre-9/11, it was pretty much, right off the bat, I got cases from the agent that was leaving. He gave me old fugitive cases, old bank robberies, some embezzlements, a couple Indian country violent crime. And then I kind of got more of that as I went right up until 9/11 and the brakes just hit. Like it was, everything that we do prosecutively, we take to the U.S. Attorney's Office and present it to them. I think a lot of people don't understand that about the FBI. We don't ever charge anyone. We never have. People get upset about, I can't believe the FBI didn't charge something. The FBI collects all the facts, says what's true and not true, takes it to the U.S. Attorney's Office. So I had all these cases I'd taken to the U.S. Attorney's Office and said, like this guy beat this guy half to death and this person stole all this money from a bank. And then come 9/11, they just everyone just said, just work 9/11 for a year. We just benched everything. And
so 2002 is a good time to be a regular criminal in the United States.
yeah. What's interesting is we had a great relationship with Norman Police. We still got called for things that were federal exclusive, like bank robberies, kidnappings. They know and they don't mind calling the FBI because we come and we work it together. And it's more effective if we do it that way. And so we still got calls, but we stopped getting bank robberies after 9/11.
Wow.
We got about one a month in Norman for the first couple years I was there. And after 9/11, I bet we didn't have a bank robbery for a year.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crime slowed down after 9/11 for sure.
Huh. I guess so getting into, a very different aspect of your professional career, going from bank robberies and, normal kind of felony crimes to now you're working something, not to say that you weren't familiar with it, but, that's not what you had been doing. Was it a steep learning curve? Did you jump right in and just start hit the ground running and making some headway, or?
The advantage that I had was I had a lot of foreign students that were sources on campus, and I worked a lot of criminal cases that involved foreign students, and it was just a natural segue. That part was a natural segue. I remember one of the assistant special agents in charge calling me and saying, hey, we're going to lean on you pretty heavily because of your contacts in the foreign community in Norman, which is where Zacharias, so I'm where Zacharias Moussaoui, the 20th hijacker, originally learned to fly for the purposes of a terrorist attack. And so they were like, who are all your contacts? I was already working a case at the airport there, Westheimer, where they were using planes to smuggle drugs. So I already had contacts at the airport and informants and had people so they called me and they were like, all the stuff you're doing now, take all those tools and apply it to 9/11.
Yeah.
Why was Zacharias Moussaoui there? How did he pay for it? Where did he stay? I talk about this in the book, though. When 9/11 hits, they call us out, and my partner and I rush to Oklahoma City, and we're just right like the rest of the world. We're like, what's next? What's going to happen next? How do we get ahead of this? And then we hadn't been there but maybe a few hours, and they said, you got to get back to Norman right now. All right, we rush all the way back to Norman, and they say, hey, we already have a warrant sworn out to search this guy's apartment for evidence of the bombing that, like, the Twin Towers are still on fire, and they're telling us you need to go in and search this guy's apartment. So in that regard, I didn't have a lot of counterintelligence, counterterrorism experience, but I knew the people, I knew the territory.
Yeah. I just had the guy on from the Minneapolis office that arrested him.
Really?
And wrote a book about it, yeah.
I've heard about the book.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a small world.
Yeah.
So did 9/11 change the trajectory of your career permanently that way? Or did
Yep.
you did pretty much all counterterrorism stuff after that?
I did counterintelligence, which is just kind of your typical government snafu. I remember prior to 9/11, there really was this wall between criminal and national security. And if you worked one or the other, if you listened on a national security wire, something about criminal activity, you couldn't run to the other side of the building and go, hey, this guy's planning a bank robbery.
Folks, just a quick heads up, I do have a Team Dog Patreon tier where I answer questions via video, either just describing the answer to the question or even demonstrating some of it. So go to our Mic Drop Patreon page, check out the Team Dog tier, and I look forward to seeing you in there. Thank you much.
So there was this respect of like, because we play by the rules, we keep these things separate. And so when I got on our computer system and I would run a name for a guy who was a suspect in a bank robbery, and it would bring up any file where that name came up or anything. Well, they started giving me counterterrorism leads in Norman, and I clack that stuff in, and it would just come up all access, no access. So I'm calling my supervisor, and I'm kind of crotchety for a new guy, but I was like, hey, I intend to do this well, and if I don't have access to the files I need, I don't understand why you even have me do it. I want to have access to counterterrorism work, and I want to work counterterrorism because that's the nation's priority. And he heard counterintelligence. And within a week, I get a phone call, and they're like, hey, we're going to transfer you to the counterintelligence squad. And I was like, you mean counterterror, but I get it. And they were like, no, you specifically requested. So I ended up working counterintelligence probably 80-90% of my workload for the next 20 years.
Wow.
Because of 9/11 and then a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And then I did it as best I could. I was extremely productive. I actually thought if I worked really hard at it, I'd have a supervisor go, hey man, you apply yourself to whatever you do, you can go and do whatever you want. And they didn't. They were like, you're really good at this, you'll never leave.
So what was the gist of what you're doing day to day doing that?
Counterintelligence. It's literally what it sounds like. It's countering other nations' intelligence efforts. So not all of it I can say here, but we know that other countries have intelligence services. And if they're a non-ally country, we consider them a hostile intelligence service. So some of the obvious ones, right, like KGB, Russia, Russians' intelligence services, and you can guess the others. We're cooperating with the CIA, we're aware of some of the work that they do here. And so it's this very cat and mouse game of, we know that you're here, but we're going to pretend like we don't know that you're here, but we are going to follow you wherever you go. We're going to try to put trackers in your car. You're not a U.S. citizen. and you're a hostile intelligence member, rules are different. So there's a different set of rules for where we watch you, how we collect intelligence. And then the long game isn't, haha, we got you, I know that you're a Russian collector. Now we're going to PNG, persona non grata, and kick you out. That seems like that's the kind of police perspective is, haha, I got you, now I kicked you out. The long game is just continue to pretend you don't know who they are and then completely screw with them. So let them think that they've found and recruited someone and go through all the effort of finding and recruiting and then have that person given completely bogus intelligence. And they send it back. So we draw out their, to where they hate their job and they want to quit because they're over here trying to spy and we're just quietly in every corner making their job suck. Meanwhile, we're learning all their tradecraft, who their bosses are, who their colleagues are, who their informants are. So,
And obviously where it goes, if it's bogus, you know, wherever you see it, it came
Right.
from that person. Yeah.
right. Yeah, and so there was a program where we could specifically declassify things so that we could feed them to people and then see where it popped up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the non-allied foreign intelligence services. What about the allied foreign intelligence services, and how much wiggle room do you give an allied intelligence service to do the exact same thing?
The complexity there is what we think we know in the field and what the State Department says is happening. That sounds way spookier than it should. But if it were an ally nation, I guess I shouldn't say one out loud. But there are some ally
You
nations.
can say one out loud.
Yeah.
I'd love it if you said one out loud.
We know that they're collecting for the best interest of their country, but it's not for the purpose of destroying the United States.
Well, so with that, I mean, to me, it sounds like a bit of a polished answer. I mean, like, how do you know that for sure, though? And I know it's going to depend on who the ally is and what they're collecting. I mean, do you see any counterproductivity or potential negative in giving the benefit of the doubt that way?
I don't think the Bureau ever gave the benefit of the doubt, and I think we were pretty lucky that they kept us on a long leash. So if an ally nation collected and it had hostile intentions, then we could do something about it. The way it looked, though, is that, pick some warm, fuzzy European ally of ours that really wants a certain kind of chip technology or klystron or a laser or whatever. They want to further their country, but they don't intend to weaponize it against us. Then we collected and shared that with the CIA, and likewise. And we would just sort of this is more of the same. This is the more of this allied country trying to further themselves, usually by stealing technology because they don't want to pour the money into technology that the U.S. does. But if it had ever turned into, and here's how we're going to kill Americans with it, or how we want to see the ultimate demise of the nation economically, that's where they would get moved into the hostile intelligence service list.
Did you ever come across that?
No.
Where a supposed ally turned out to be doing things that were, let's say, even questionable, maybe not super black and white like now they're trying to kill Americans, but where it's edging into the gray area of this seems a little shakier than just being an ally trying to get technology on something, like we need to dig into this a little further. Did you ever run into that even?
Never anything hostile. I remember sort of being disappointed, I really kind of thought of them as they're still an ally, but it's sort of disappointing to find out that they were trying to collect intelligence either by manipulating people or listening devices or things like that, but nothing hostile.
I mean, is or was the intelligence that they were gathering ever questionable as to it could have been hostile? Maybe there's not very specific, provable evidence that, yes, this is a hostile act, but something where, it kind of doesn't really make sense, where it's just technology, and it could lead to that, where it made you look at them harder.
I never saw that with a NATO ally.
What, can you give me an example of the disappointment, like what they were doing that disappointed you to say, man, I thought they were an ally and now they're doing this? Can you say what this is?
So one of the things that we did was we made ourselves available to any place that had high technology, universities. We'd go to the presidents of big companies you would recognize and say, if you guys ever have any doubts or questions, come to us. And in a good way, try to ingratiate ourselves. Like, hey, if you have this contract with this person in this country and you want me to run his name, I'll run his name for you. Or if you guys ever lose a big bag of hydrochloric kill you dead and you want me to help you find it, I'll help you find it. No one has to know. And so in the process of getting to know and having like a two-way trust relationship with some of these bigger companies, sometimes they would say, hey, would you brief my guys before they go to XYZ country, go to this conference? I'm like, sure. And I would just tell them, like, these are the method of tradecraft you could expect from someone using human intelligence collection to try to elicit information from you. And if something in the back of your head is saying, man, this feels like one of the elicitation techniques Jeremy told me about, just keep your eyes and ears open, take notes, and when you come back, if you're so inclined, share it with me, because it would benefit the nation. And sometimes guys would come back and say, hey, this guy came and got me liquored up or offered me girls and then wanted to be my best buddy, and then he wanted to know about this new neodymium dope yttrium aluminum garnet laser. He asked what, right? Like,
Yeah. Is that a thing? Or
Yeah.
you just
and I'm like, and again, my ears perk up. I'm like, really? And they're like, who was this dude? And like, well, he said his name was this and this. And do you have a business card? Do you have photos or anything? And then find out the guy's actually not from an enemy nation. They just really wanted this technology for free.
What is that technology? What is that laser for?
So that's one of the things that we spend a lot of our time focusing on is dual use. There's things they're pretty much never going to be weaponized and things that are obviously going to be weaponized. And the in-between, you get this gray zone we call dual use, where you could come up with a laser that would be really good for brain surgery, and it would also, you could blind a satellite with it. Or a radar system. Really good example I worked with firsthand was a radar system from a Navy warship. A Ticonderoga class ship has a Spy 1 phased array radar on it. And so weather services started using actual Navy Aegis weapons systems to identify storms. And then all of a sudden, these certain countries start showing up, and they're like, we too care about storms. We would love to share with you in this technology about storms. And then I never heard of this. What's this radar called again? And they completely knew that it was something we'd taken off of a Ticonderoga class warship. So that dual use thing is that was our bread and butter, is this laser could be used to blind a satellite or do a good thing. So that's the hardest part of the job.
Yeah. And so you never encountered Allied intelligence gathering services doing things that were even really in that gray area?
Say that again, sorry.
So you never came across any Allied countries that were in that gray area where you're like, well, I don't know if we should let them have this or we need to look further into this?
I didn't. Yeah. It was usually economically motivated.
Yeah. I mean, so, because you hear a lot in the media, talking points from whether it's politicians, pundits, commentators, whatever, that talk a lot about, everybody spies, like even our allies spy on us and it's bullshit. Why are you okay with that? Do you think that that's just more of like a talking point to get a rise out of people then, if that's the kind of stuff that they're gathering intelligence-wise, or are there more concrete evidences and examples of our allies, really spying on us in a relatively nefarious manner that you're aware of? Because you hear about that a lot.
Yeah. I think what's good is the same tradecraft in counterintelligence applies for hostile and non-hostile nations. So it's pretty straightforward. If Russia wants to figure out how many tanks we have, we'll figure out a way to screw the numbers up for them and make them believe that they know we have more or less Abrams, whatever, right? trying to make sure that they collect poorly. And so the same thing applies to any nation that's collecting, that we're aware of it, but if we just show up and go, haha, this guy was collecting from us and he's a NATO ally, and so we're going to shake our fist and send him home. Well, they're going to send someone else, and there's people already here. So the real advantage is inside the intelligence community to go, hey, we know this guy have shown efforts towards collecting. And so now we're going to spend time and money and resources following these guys around, listening to their calls, figuring out what they're doing. And then once we get a feel for what they're doing, then we screw with them too.
Yeah.
If you're trying to collect the radar intelligence that we didn't intend for you to have, we'll put in underway an effort to make sure you collect the wrong intelligence, even if you're an ally country.
Yeah. But I guess my question is the interpretation, or maybe a better word is representation, of our own allies spying on us in the United States. At least, I mean, maybe I'm confused, or I'm misinterpreting it maybe, but it feels like it's implied that our allies are actively spying on us, like in this negative manner, that at least from my perspective, implies that it is in a nefarious way. It's not just like an economic or technology thing, is that there is more nefarious reason. Do you not get that impression from the media?
I don't like, most of my impressions from the media are bad right now, but I'll tell me if you think this helps. I try to look at it from the 30,000 foot view of that every nation is going to always spy on every nation. If you have the capability, you're always going to. So we want to know how many Leopard tanks Germany has. We want to know how many Mirages France has. So maybe, I'm not going to say what the United States does or doesn't do, but maybe it would make sense for us to collect on our own how many weapons does everybody really have? Trust but verified. So 10,000 years ago, if I was the leader of a tribe and you were the leader of a tribe, and your mud huts were over here and mine were over here, and at some point you heard like, hey, the Rebmann tribe has like a new kind of slingshot. You'd be like, well, go find out what kind, right? And now espionage is born. So you'd be like, you're good hunters, you sneak over there and figure out what kind of slingshot he has. And then I could get mad and go, how dare you spy on me? But then I would do the same thing. Like, so to that level, spycraft and espionage, there's a lot of normalcy to every nation spies against every nation, and you can be offended by it, but like everyone does it.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to know what everyone else has.
Yeah. I guess, some fairly recent examples that to me seem more than just trying to understand what our allies possess capability-wise is, from my recollection, is that, like the Secret Service finding listening devices, in high government offices. And I don't know if you just saw, I think it came out yesterday or maybe a couple days ago. I don't know that it's an ally, they haven't said. To me, the fact that they haven't said leads me to believe that it probably is, and that's why they're not saying where it's from, or that they haven't figured it out yet. But a very elaborate and complex series of apartments near the UN. Have you heard about this?
No.
There's pictures of it. It looks like a data center, but the entire purpose behind it is to be able to disable all radio and emergency communication equipment, and it's within the bubble of the UN, right before the UN Security Council's meeting. Again, like they uncovered it, they are investigating it, disabling it, whatever. But obviously, somebody with a high level of understanding, technology, intelligence put that in place for a very specific reason, and you can pretty easily deduce that that's not even just monitoring stuff. That's saying we're trying to disable your ability to respond to an emergency. Like, to me, that's pretty alarming.
Oh yeah.
But I guess my point is that it's stuff like that, that in some cases our allies are doing, putting listening devices in the White House or in meetings where, our executive branch has representatives in, and it's like, that's not dual role, just trying to figure out how many tanks we have, like that's getting behind the wizard's curtain at the highest level.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of my question is that representation, seems to be pretty accurate, that we even have allied countries that are doing things like that. And there's a few in particular that seem to be more guilty of it more often than the rest. Can you shed any light on any of that?
I don't think so, because
You never came across any of that?
I never came across anything that I don't think we would do. Like I think if we had a trained asset overseas at a conference, you might try to get someone liquored up and ask them about their new project. So,
Well, I mean, do you know, can you confirm or even speculate that the United States would try to eavesdrop, bug, tap the UK Parliament, or the French Parliament, the Israeli government? Like, would we try to do that?
Totally can't speculate about that. Yeah.
Can you guess? Do you have a personal opinion on it?
Well, so for starters,
You can't
I was in the
speculate or you won't.
counterintelligence world, so I was a spy hunter, and my colleagues in the CIA were spies and spy makers, which is probably why we didn't always get along. So our effort was finding and dismantling people trying to spy against the United States. So I'd be way out on a limb to speculate what our proactive intelligence services do to collect. And if that includes our NATO allies, I would be talking out my butt.
Well, you can do that here. Do you have a personal opinion? Do you think we do it? I guess.
I have no idea. I think, having been in the counterintelligence game for a long time, I think it's best to collect everywhere all the time as much as you can.
Yeah, like even our closest allies.
If I were in charge of the kingdom of Jeremy, I would want to know what everyone had, and I would want to know from the most secure, reliable way, and I'd want redundancies, even from my friends.
So
That's just my kingdom.
So hypothetically, you're either the president or the director of the CIA. You're tapping UK's parliament, if you can.
Man, that's a lose-lose question. I don't know. I think if we went back to we had our two tribes, and I got a new slingshot, I think you'd send dudes over to figure out what kind of slingshot I had. Even if you and I were bros.
I'm just kidding.
I think we'd still be like, man, I want to know what kind of slingshot.
Yeah, it's like, you want to look in your buddy's garage and see the new car, kind of thing.
Yeah.
To simplify it to the most elementary terms. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm tracking. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I just, to me, it's like it's rare to have somebody with your depth of experience with that world, and I hear about it a lot, and there's a lot of media, and to be fair, there's a lot of BS in the media also, manufactured stories, and there's the double and triple and quadruple crossing agents that embed fake stories into different countries' medias to stir discontent or whatever. So I'm always curious about it.
Yeah.
If you could kind of just synopsize your career path before we get into, we've got a long list of different cases from the Send Me book. Obviously, we can't get into all of them, but there's a few I'd love to get into. But if you can just kind of give us I was here for this many years and did this, then I was, a type of synopsis.
In the FBI specifically, I spent 8 years in Norman, Oklahoma, and so mostly criminal work before 9/11, and then counterterrorism, and then counterintelligence. For most of the rest of my career, I transferred to Stillwater, Oklahoma.
So big move.
Yeah. For another 15 years. So I always owned a home in Oklahoma in my bureau years, but I got on the SWAT team in 2001, before 9/11. And so I traveled all over the nation, all over the world.
So it was the FBI SWAT, like their national SWAT, not the regional one?
That's one of the reasons I wrote the book, is to try to, I think FBI SWAT's not well understood. The SWAT that I joined was regional SWAT, where each of the 56 divisions had a SWAT team, and we were all very similar. but independent. We would cross-train, like Oklahoma would cross-train with Kansas City and Dallas and Houston. But we kind of worked our own things in our own fiefdom. And then after 9/11, they really reformed it where they, like this is the national patch.
Oh, okay.
We all had our own team patches, which, by the way, I brought you. That's one of our team coins.
Oh, awesome. Well,
So that's Oklahoma FBI
That's awesome.
SWAT.
That's super cool.
And we would wear that patch on our uniform. And then when they came up with they said, really what the nation needs is one SWAT team with 1,000 men and women in these 56 locations. And so the SWAT operations unit in D.C. started to lead more and started to actually sort of pull out of the authority away from the special agents in the field. So the FBI SWAT program I left was the nation's one FBI SWAT team that has 1,000 people in it.
Okay.
So in the end of my career, it wasn't abnormal for me to get on a plane and fly somewhere for an op.
Is the misconception where people separate FBI HRT and they consider that like the national SWAT team and everybody else is a regional SWAT team? Is that the misconfusion?
Yeah, I think, people can say regional SWAT, but SWAT, it would summarize it anyway, that SWAT is, I get in a lot of trouble by using military analogies, but I don't think it would be crazy to look at SWAT more like regimental rangers or Green Berets. So they do this big mission set for whoever owns a battle space. And then you have special missions units that do like the crazy stuff you'd never think. Like when you do a halo into the ocean and then scuba to a submersible and then board a boat. My team's not doing that. We'd never, if we trained up for that, we'd never get all our regular ops done. So HRT is this very small team in Virginia that can do all those things and cross trains with Dev Group and Delta.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the things I did want to convey in the book is that the nation has one big FBI SWAT team that is the workhorse. Like I have buddies that are on HRT, so I'm definitely not saying anything bad about them at all. It's just that they're very small.
Yeah.
And very specialized, very, very good at what they do. So if we need to have 200 operators go take down a cartel in San Juan, it has to be SWAT, right? If you want to take down an airfield, you're going to send in Rangers.
Right.
That's dangerous to use the military model to compare it, but I think it's pretty close.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Can you say how small HRT is numbers-wise?
I can't. I think I can say how many people have ever been operators on the team, and see, I'm gonna have to guess. It shocked me when I found out one of my teammates who just made it through selection, he knows his number.
Yeah.
And it was like 400 something.
Yeah.
Since the inception of it in '83.
So super small.
Super small.
Yeah. Within the FBI kind of, if you want to call it general SWAT, would that be considered derogatory calling it or just FBI normal SWAT, not HRT?
Yeah.
Was that something that being on that team for better part of 20 years, it sounds like you did a lot of things. Are most of the cases from Send Me SWAT related, or is it a mix of investigations that panned out really well and some SWAT stuff? Is it a combination?
They're definitely each chapter is a SWAT mission.
Okay.
And a few of them, I break down the case for the reader a little bit.
Okay. So before we get into those, 8 years in Norman, Stillwater for how long?
15 years.
For 15. Wow. So the whole time in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And during that time, SWAT is obviously I guess maybe not the main thing that you're doing, but a huge part of what you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
And you're still that entire time continuing to do the counterintelligence stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let me level with you here. If there's one thing that I do know, it's that showing up matters for your family, your teammates, your business, and your country. But a while back, I hit a wall. My nights were wrecked, I was tossing, turning, no real deep sleep, and my days were even worse. That's when I found Beam's Dream Powder. Beam is proudly founded in America and run by people who share our values: hard work, integrity, and delivering results. When I found Dream, everything changed. I started sleeping through the night without tossing and turning, and I woke up energized, not groggy. It's been an absolute game changer for me. Now here's what's inside. A powerful blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin. It's designed to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up ready to perform. No next day fog, no shortcuts, no junk, just results. And it tastes damn good. It's become part of my nightly routine. I put Beam's Dream Powder to the test, and the first night was lights out in minutes. A week in, and I had sharper focus, more patience at home, and the energy to attack the day instead of limping through it. Now here's the deal. Beam has already logged 17.5 million better nights of sleep for people who refuse to settle. Beam is giving my listeners the ultimate Patriot discount of up to 40% off. You can try their best-selling Dream Powder and get up to 40% off for a limited time only. So if you use my discount code, which is MicDrop, all caps, all one word, you can get their best-selling Dream Powder for just $39. Go to shopbeam.com/MicDrop and use the code MicDrop, all caps, all one word, at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/MicDrop and use the code MicDrop for up to 40% off. All right, so you've got a host of stories from the book that are pretty high-level SWAT operations. There's too many to go through in one show. However, there are several that stand out to me just in their name, but I'm also curious from your perspective if there's kind of maybe one of each, style of operation or what you're trying to counter that you could kind of share in detail to give people an idea of the other missions detailed in the book.
I picked a little bit of a variety for the reader because I wanted them to see all the different facets of SWAT work. So I specifically put one about dignitary protection because I don't think people know or think much about that part. They know that for Secret Service, not from the FBI. And
Go ahead.
There's one it's called Tactical Surveillance and Interdiction. It's a special mission. It's a counterterrorism kinetic mission that the FBI has that isn't really talked about much. And then a sort of a smattering. They're not all sniper missions. Some of them are just missions, and that's also to convey like as a sniper on our team. If there wasn't a mission that required precision marksman, then I was an assaulter or a medic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go through a FBI specific sniper course, I assume?
Yep.
Yeah. How long is that?
The basic course is 2 weeks.
That seems short.
It is short. It is, part of it is, like none of the FBI schools are too long if you're a case agent because you're neglecting someone's case. So if there's a missing child, you can't go to a 3-month-long school.
Right.
The other thing is, when you go to sniper school specifically, you've joined the FBI, you've gone through all that, you've gone through all the physical fitness tests, all the marksmanship tests. Now you've been selected for SWAT, and you're passing a higher level of physical fitness and a higher marksmanship level, and now you're learning all the tactics that go along with it. And now your team leadership has said, "Hey, I really like Mike. I think we should send him to sniper school." For me and for a lot of guys, they started training us up on the job. This is the rifle. This is how you shoot it. Once you start going out with the sniper element, training with them. And so when you go to the school, it's 2 weeks of, have you figured out all the things that they were supposed to teach you? And then pass the qual and do a bunch of hard stuff and go for runs and navigate and those kind of things. But like I told my guys when they came back from Sniper Basic, I considered it a lesson to learn. If you came back from Sniper Basic, you were far from an expert.
Right.
You were qualified to carry the rifle.
You can pick up brass, fuckface. Well, yeah, so on that, I mean, I assume that there are a bunch of different sniper specialty courses above and beyond that.
Yeah.
How many are there?
In-house, we have one that we just call Advanced Sniper. I think it's also 2 weeks. I can't remember. And it's we were doing it at K&N in Finger, Tennessee, which is an amazing range. Like for a shooter, it's Disneyland. And we would just rent the range and bring out not our best SWAT sniper instructors. I actually got to teach a couple times. We bring out HRT instructors. We bring out guys from other teams. And it was great for me because it was, here's your Kestrel, here's all your knowledge for weapons and wind and ballistics, and we were hitting steel at 1,000. So that was our internal one, and then they sent me to Mid-South and
nice.
rifles only, and I got to shoot with Barnhart.
No shit, Jerry the Burner.
Got to spend a week with, so, they sent, a lot of the schools were commercial schools where they're like, steal as much of that as you want, bring it back to the team.
That's cool.
And if it doesn't meet, there was some stuff that didn't match our standards, but good to see how other people shoot.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the things I really liked, that the SEAL teams very quickly post 9/11 started doing a lot more of that. They're like, we would go to Shaw's, prior to 9/11, but post 9/11, there was this, hey, if there's any skill set that you guys can somehow connect the dots, like off-road racing, absolutely. Desert mobility, sign me up.
Right.
But all BS aside, though, it was actually very applicable, but also really cool, to go to off-road racing and driving schools and, lock picking. There's all kinds of stuff, but it's neat that you guys got to take advantage of that same stuff. But from a sniper standpoint, I am curious, because it's been, such a big hotbed topic now. Is there a counter sniper component to FBI, both in practical application of whether it's dignitary support or things that you're doing where it would make sense to do counter sniper, but then do they also utilize somebody like yours expertise in, say, a Charlie Kirk assassination case where they would bring you in as an FBI sniper and help the investigation? Like, do you do any of that? Or would you do any of that?
Let me think about that. I don't think I did.
I guess, would it be logical for...
Yeah. Part of it was I retired 3 years ago, and a lot of this crap just happened. So I think it would probably be reasonable that the FBI would look at its own snipers for investigative purposes.
Yeah. While we're on that topic, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. As a multi-decade FBI sniper, seeing the Charlie Kirk assassination and just the multitude of conspiracy, I don't want to necessarily say conspiracy theories, but all this different angle and video footage that hasn't been seen before, and who knows if it's doctored or not, or if it's completely CGI generated. Like, you don't know what to believe. But from like that 30,000 foot view, what is your take on the overall assassination operationally?
Well, you struck a point with me that I am to the point where I feel like I don't know who I would trust with anything from the media or from, man, that sounds crass, or from any government official. Like
even the one you used to work for.
I would, yeah. Well, and that's what I mean. I feel very fortunate because I can call my old teammates and go, "Hey, man, what happened?" Like with the Dallas shooting that just happened, I could call my teammates and they were like, "Hey, yeah, we just did this," stuff that they're allowed to tell me. And so it's nice to have that peek into, like, okay, my old team is still functioning. They're still banging on all 8 cylinders. And so I have faith in that. Like, that's the thing I have the most faith in our government, because I was in it for so long. But when I watch news stories and hear I don't know what to believe. I'll tell you what I think you already believe, is that, like, murder is wrong. And killing someone for any political reason is despicable. I had an interview lined up for this weekend that just got canceled. And if they watch this, I was disappointed because I was looking forward to talking to them. But they canceled it because of all the stuff that's going on and the perception of what a sniper is right now, and that it made me kind of mad. I was talking to one of my teammates and who's out in Virginia this morning, and he's like, hey, in fairness, Merriam-Webster, it says sniper is someone who shoots from a concealed location. But it bothers me that there's sort of we don't want to talk about you and your career in the military and the FBI because you're a sniper, because a sniper's a bad thing right now. I wish.
Yeah. That's
It
just
makes me mad when they refer to this like a murderer as a sniper. Screw that guy.
Yeah. To me, the burning question is do you know anybody that has any insight into the Charlie Kirk assassination specifically, and have you talked to them about anything that they know?
Nothing that's not, no. I don't.
So that's a no, or nothing that we don't
like
already-
nothing that's not already. Yeah, I've called friends and teammates, and nothing surprising or scandalous. Like,
So the answer is yes, you do know people and have reached out to them, but there hasn't been any
yeah,
information that hasn't already been put out.
right,
Yeah.
yeah,
The one thing that, again, from your operational expertise being so extensive, and I don't want to turn into one of these guys that analyzes every bit of footage and says, oh, it came from the back, and well, what about his shirt in this way and whatever. But the one thing that I am a little baffled on is, and to be clear, like, who knows if the video footage is even authentic and original and unaltered, but the weapon that was used, right, it's this old Mauser bolt action. It's not easy to break down quickly. There's video of him jumping off the roof. Unless I'm missing something, I don't know where that weapon could have been on his person when he's doing that. And then it's found, again, later on, hundreds of yards or further away in a tree line, put back together, wrapped in a towel. Does that line up as being plausible to you?
seems bizarre. I'll tell you, having been on the inside, working on some big cases and seeing what the media, not even nefariously, just like begging for crumbs, right? It's their job. They're like, I want every little thing. And they'll get something mixed up. And sometimes they get it mixed up and they get even better ratings because now it's scandalous. And so from the inside, I've seen that and thought, you're getting it wrong. And you're getting more attention now that you're getting it wrong. So everything I see now on TV, I take with a grain of salt because I think, was that part of the finalized report, or is that something that someone in the media is scrounging up to increase their ratings? So my attitude is like, I just withhold judgment.
I mean, I'm right there with you when it comes to, oh, he was at Dairy Queen an hour later or 20 minutes. Like, okay, well, that doesn't, maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. If the dude's off his rocker, then what, but to me, like, it's irrelevant. Like, to me, that doesn't say, well, it couldn't have been him because he calmly had a blizzard 20 minutes later. Like, who knows? Mm-hmm. To me, the one thing that I can say unequivocally that I would say this doesn't match with what I know about shooting from elevated positions and trying to egress quickly and escape after the fact, that the video that you see there very clearly demonstrates to me that there's a hole. So I would just ask, like, from your perspective, like, is it possible that he had the rifle on from the video that on his person, from the video that you saw, that he was able to break it down on the rooftop, conceal it in a manner which you can't tell that it's on his body, and make a jump from that height and land the way that he did, take off running with both of his arms loose, with just a floppy jacket or hoodie in one hand, and manage to get that rifle hundreds of yards away or further, put back together, wrapped in a towel, and concealed? Does that seem possible?
I have no idea. I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but I think having done federal investigation for 25 years, I deeply suspend judgment as long as possible. Like, I don't want to set a bias for myself. So when I was working a case, if I followed a lead, I'd followed a lead, but I would always be open to what if. And one of the places I still have a lot of confidence is in our federal court system. Like, this will go before, I don't know if this one particularly will necessarily, but these big cases go before courts where guys like you and I get to sit in the jury box, and really highly paid, highly trained attorneys get to duke it out. And when they can sit down and say, this guy's DNA is here and it was on this, and this bullet matches the chromium amount of that's in this bullet, and a shrapnel was recovered from here, and here's photos that were taken. So, when they start to put together that kind of stuff and a jury makes their decision and there's overwhelming evidence, that's when I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to start deciding what I think is true and what's not. I just don't. Watching stuff on the news, I don't really watch the news. I listen to it. I listen to like my Echo Dot in the morning, and I'll listen to NPR and Fox and USA. Like I want to hear all of it, and then I want to pick apart. Somewhere in the middle is probably the truth of it, but I don't watch the videos.
Yeah.
Like the video you're talking about, I haven't watched.
Okay. Maybe I'm guilty of my own accusation of picking things apart, and I want to be transparent enough to say, maybe I do fall into that category, because I don't disagree that in the court of law, it's like if ballistically and scientifically you can prove that this weapon was fired and the bullet that came from it is what ended his life, and your DNA is now on that weapon and it's at this location, how you got it from point A to point B is essentially irrelevant, right? Because ultimately it's connecting enough dots to prove beyond the shadow of a doubt in a court system that you fired that weapon and killed him, no matter how you got away with it. No matter how you Houdini'd your way off the roof, and is that those are the facts, and so everything in between is essentially inconsequential. Is that a fair way to look at it?
I think it is, and I don't get too excited about conspiracy theories, because in a really big agency that has really high standards like the FBI, you could never manage to keep a conspiracy under wraps. Like if people put themselves in the first person position, they put themselves in the seat of being the agent, knowing what I know about how the agency is built, the amount of autonomy that we get. But if you think about like you and your 10 best buddies,
somebody's going to run their mouth.
Someone's going to run their mouth, right?
Yeah.
And they'll proudly, right? If they're like, Mike, here's the deal. We're going to blow up the Twin Towers. Wait, hear me out. You'd be like, oh.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. I've said that for years now on the show with, a lot of skepticism towards a lot of things, is that, while I understand mistrust of the government and in pretty much at every level and capacity, they have shown us that they've broken our trust time and time again. Having said that, the larger the scale of the operation that you're saying was a false flag or some sort of shell game bait and switch, you're frankly giving these people way more credit than is deserved to pull something like that off and not have somebody have a tell-all book with a $10 million royalty advance, or got drunk one night in Colombia with some hookers and spilled the beans and it's on a cell phone recording or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't disagree with any of that. And again, like as I'm talking through it, maybe I'm leaping to that same conclusion of saying, well, this video doesn't add up. But if all of the other evidence, very succinctly or distinctly proves that, hey, the bullet that ended his life came from this weapon and your DNA is all over it. There's, an ability to prove that you were on the rooftop. Like it kind of doesn't matter from a technical and legal process through the court system how you got it done. However, I would say that because the distrust is so high in, especially the FBI right now, because let's be honest, between January 6th, the Epstein stuff, Comey, going all the way back to I would say even Trump's first term, there's been some missteps, but because that is such a problem, if it were me and I'm Kash Patel, I would go out of my way to share those details and say, hey, I know that there's been a lot of questions on the bullet entry and impact, and so we're going to clear some of that up. I know there's been a lot of speculation as to there's no way he could have had the weapon, and here's what we found. Why don't they do that?
Well, the old school bureau is you don't talk about an investigation until it's done. And I feel like that used to be respected. Again, you could tell a congressman and they would say, oh, of course. Like, wait till it's done. And because if we give you a little bit here and a little bit there, you're not getting the whole picture. And now we're accidentally skewing what we're telling you. Or we're, if someone can still flee, we're giving them a clue that they should run or whatever the case is. But you said something that made me think about, I'm super defensive of the FBI. Like, I just am. I gave
understandably
most of my life and saw a lot of horrible things and patched up bullet holes, and left a piece of myself behind doing a job for a country that I loved. So, but something I think you would understand this in particular, when I hear the crap on TV about, like you mentioned, Patel or Comey or someone in the DOJ. I think, to use another military analogy, it would be like you as a SEAL, now as a former SEAL, if someone said, hey man, did you hear 4-star Admiral so-and-so said something to 3-star Admiral so-and-so, and then he didn't do the thing that he was supposed to do as an admiral, and now you can't trust SEALs anymore, you'd go, what? What does that have to do? What does that admiral have to do with me as my trident?
Well, so here's where I would make an enormous distinction that I think makes all the difference in the world, is that any 3 or 4-star admiral who has an ability to represent the SEAL community at that level, whether it's the head of SOCOM or in the Joint Chiefs, with the Pentagon, advising the president directly, whatever, if he has a trident on his chest, that means he's one of us. And so if he does that, then it would, in my opinion, reflect poorly on the entire community because of it. Whereas in Comey and Kash Patel, they weren't actually field agents, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
To me, that's the difference, is that you guys, and I think it's a mistake, that the FBI can ever be headed by somebody who wasn't one of us. I think that's where that problem stems from, is that you are kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater for those uninitiated that don't understand that very distinction.
A better analogy would actually be as if a presidentially appointed Secretary of the Navy, who not only doesn't have a trident, but he's never earned a stripe. And that guy did this or that. And then people are like, well, you really can't trust SEALs anymore because the Secretary of the Navy did this. That's where I think the parallel is correct, because for guys that wear this patch and for the people that wear the gold badge, it's a different community, and our highest echelon are politicians. Like, when people get mad at Comey and Patel and Mueller, and none of them agents, none of them gunfighters, none of them investigators.
No, I agree. I think, but that's the problem, right? Yeah. Is that, because a 4-star admiral who was never a SEAL, who's, the Secretary of the Navy, isn't a SEAL. Right. Whereas, when people see Comey and Kash Patel, they think he's an FBI agent, and he's not.
Right.
So to me, it's not even just a matter of we should be better as a public to make that distinction and help the general public understand that. To me, it's just a bad idea to have guys in those positions that haven't worn that patch and or gold badge. Yeah, that's just my take on it. I think that would solve all of the problems.
I think we're 100% on the same page with that. Yeah.
All right, so I guess I love what you said about letting the facts, and I do agree in that. Giving pieces here and there is ultimately an injustice. It's just everybody, we live in such an, Amazon Prime automatic society that wants to know everything right this second. In that case, I still wish that they would at some point release it, though. It's like, is the January 6th investigation not over? Like, is it still open? Do you know?
I don't know.
And with the Epstein stuff, similarly, it's like, how long does it take? It's it's 5 years now. 6 years. It's been a while. And so it's like when that takes place, coupled with either just here's a little bit here, here's a little bit there, and then when it's done, we're not going to talk about it anymore. Coupled with the fact that you have a guy leading the organization that isn't one of the boys, I think it's a recipe for seeing what you see with the level of distrust. But
I think that's fair.
All right, so I guess moving into Glass Mountain.
Glass Mountain involved a canine.
Oh, cool.
So I thought you might
Yeah, that'd be great.
appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a long story, so tell me, like, if I go too fast
No.
or I go too long or whatever, it's a...
Yeah, I would just say hit the highlights that are worth talking about, that are
Okay.
operationally relevant, and yeah, I'd love to hear about it.
The bottom line, this dude in Florida lights off a bomb outside a place of worship. FBI gets involved because that's what we do. And they figure out who he is and what he did, and they can't find him, so he becomes a fugitive.
What year is this? 2011?
I think it's probably, yeah, I think
It's Delta Blues, you said?
this is Glass Mountain.
Glass Mountain.
Yeah.
May of 2011.
I think he lit this bomb off. It's been a long time. I think he lit the bomb off like a year before we found him. But the FBI's fugitive program is ironclad. Like, we catch everyone. It's one of the things I don't know that the Bureau gets enough credit for. But if you
Agreed.
go on the top 10 won't get wanted list, you're going to get found,
Yeah.
including Osama bin Laden. So this dude shows up in the Glass Mountains, Oklahoma, and we get a phone call. We think it's this guy. We have no idea why now he's in Oklahoma, but you guys go out there and see if you can find him. And if you can find him, we have this outstanding warrant for him, and so pick him up, and we'll go take him to court, see what he has to say for himself. So we drive out there. It's like 11 o'clock at night. I'm getting ready to go to bed, and I get the text, and so I jock up, jump in my truck, drive a couple hours out there, and it's these beautiful mesas in Oklahoma that I've never seen before. I grew up in Oklahoma. I had no idea we had these northwest Oklahoma. And we have an idea where we think he is, a grid coordinate, and one of the park rangers is out there because there's all these dudes in multicam and armored vehicles standing around with night vision on. And he's like, hey, if you hike up this mesa up here, you can see forever. And the team leader tells me and my sniper teammate, Mackie, he's like, go find him. We're going to come up with some plans, and in the meantime, you guys go do. One of the things I loved about the Bureau, they were like, you know what you're doing, go find him.
A lot of autonomy.
Total.
Yeah.
So we just get all our kit, and we go out, and we hike to the top of this mesa, and we're looking for him. We can't find him. We ended up coming down that mesa, and, well, I should back up. While we're on the mesa, we're up there all night scanning with long-range IR and night vision. And I have my GPS, and I'm like, I'm telling my sniper teammate, dude should be right there at 800 meters. And we're scanning, and it's just nothing. And we just keep hiking closer, and now we're at the edge of the mesa. We're like 1,000 meters into this mesa, and we're going to fall off the edge of it. And I'm mad at this point. And then the sun starts to come up. We're seeing this optical illusion where the top of this mesa lines up with the horizon. There's another mesa. And it was a moonless night. There was no illum. We're our own illumination with IR floods. It just looked like this patch of dead Oklahoma prairie. And then as the sun comes up, there's this reflection of red. We're like, crap, there's a mesa right north of us. And about that time, one of our planes comes over, and I key up, and I tell him, I hit him with a signal mirror. I'm like, you got my 20? And he says, yeah. And I said, okay, 800 meters north of me is where this bad dude is supposed to be. There's a mesa north of me, 700 meters, and it's about 100 meters across. If this dude's anywhere, he's on the far side of this other mesa. So the plane at high altitude does a loop, calls back and goes, yeah, it's this color, make, model car. And I'm like, that's what the bad guy drives. So we go back down that mesa, go back up the other side. It's kind of a technical climb going up. And then we low crawl across the edge and look over the edge of this mesa, and it's the right make, model, color car we're looking for, and a dude sitting in a tent chilling. And so I call it in, tell the guys, like, we got pretty good PID. This guy matches all the descriptions. It's worth coming to pick this guy up and run his prints. And but it's all these crazy valleys and ravines and mesas. So my teammate and I are on top of this mesa looking around. We're like, how did they even get to, first of all, how did he get where he is? And then how do our guys get to him? So we're just glassing the area, and we're coming up with all the contingency plans. What if he runs here? What if he goes there? What if he jumps out with a gun? And we came up with a plan for the team to approach. So we're at this point we're in surplus MRAPs, and it's great to have some armor, but they're top heavy pigs. They're meant for taking mines. And we're trying to come up with a plan where this thing doesn't flop over, trying to go through tough terrain. And so we launch it. Now it's, the sun's up. It's late morning, maybe midday the next day. We haven't slept at all. And the truck's coming up, the MRAP is coming up, and as it comes up, it just stops, maybe 70 yards shy of the tent. And I'm keying up my radio. I'm like, keep going, 70 yards forward, 70 yards south. And they're like, we can't. It's a 45-degree incline. And that was the second optical illusion of the night. So from a mesa looking down at maybe 20 degrees at a 45-degree slope, it looked pretty shallow. Because I remember telling him, just drive up to the tent, man. I'm really tired and grouchy. I'm out of water. And Vulture was the guy driving. He was a new operator at the time. We all had weird nicknames. And he's like, we cannot, unable. So they stop what they're doing, and the guy's getting rowdy. Now he's fishing around in his tent, whoever this bad guy is. And we send up a flanking team of just a handful of operators. They really quietly come around to the east, and they get behind basically this rock and a bunch of briar just to have someone in a flanking position. And I can see him rummaging around in his tent, and he's looking through the briars. And I tell him, I'm like, man, I would not come any sooner, any closer, because as soon as you get any closer, I think this guy could start burning you down. Then he zips up the bug fly. So for my campers, like, now you can't see in the tent. I can't see him anymore, but he can see out. And not the rain fly, like just the netting. And he zips down. Now he can see out front and back. And all the hairs are standing up on the back of my neck. And I'm telling the assaulters, like, I wouldn't come any further. And they're like, well, we can't get any further with the vehicle. They try. We've got these little handheld throwbots. Throwbots, they don't make it 10 feet. We call the bomb techs, get one of their big robots. It's way too rough for them. And so I think it's in your book. I'm going to get this wrong. You say something about like the canine's ability is unmatched by man or machine. Mm-hmm. And this is a perfect example because we have really highly trained men and really expensive equipment. We got a plane overhead with FLIR down, and I can see what the plane sees with my downlink. We can see the whole thermal spectrum, armored vehicles, bomb techs, robots. Drones aren't authorized at this point. Later we get mini drones. At this point, they're taboo. But we have all these things at our disposal, and some dude with a bomb, and they told us he probably had an AK. Sitting in a tent, we can't get to him. Well, the dog can. So our leadership calls Oklahoma Highway Patrol and says, would you guys bring out one of your dogs? And a dude comes out. I wasn't there, so this is secondhand. But my understanding is they briefed up this trooper, and he was like, nah, hell no. See y'all later. It sounds like my dog getting shot. No, thank you. And he drives away.
I actually really appreciate that he said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of guys wouldn't. It would, holy shit, I can support the FBI. Yeah, let's send them in, and would put their dog at risk unnecessarily. But,
yeah, can't imagine. So somehow they call a different guy, and a different trooper shows up, and he brings his dog. And I think, again, I was up on the mesa the whole time. My understanding is he's like, yeah, I'll do this on my terms. And he comes up from the west where there's not a crossfire, but he's not directly opposed to the flanking team, but he kind of has his own angle. And he releases the dog. He says some command, and the dog just, like a rocket, fires towards his tent. And so this whole time I've been sitting behind a bolt action 308, and we've been on and taking turns on and off glass. We've been up probably 31 hours out of water, and I'm kind of in a foul mood. Like, I really am like, how hard can this be, man? Let's do this. And but I know things are about to get exciting, and so I'm pretty hard on glass, and I'm dialed back so that I get a big field of view through my scope.
And about how far are you from the tent?
About 200 yards.
Okay.
Hypotenuse. I'm about 210 yards in hypotenuse, and so like 190 something yards across the ground span. and I've got both eyes open. So I got my left eye open that's not on glass, and I can see the troopers in my peripheral vision. I see this dog just firing across. And to this day, I don't know what happened, but I can see the dude sitting on the edge of the tent, and I can see the back of his head, and he's scanning. He doesn't know that I'm looking at him. I have the crosshairs right, like on the base of his skull, base of his spine. And the dog gets right to him, and my heart's pounding. I'm like, here we go. And then the handler says something, the dog, 180 degrees, rockets back to his handler. So to this day, I don't know if it was some sort of test. He was like, let's see how this goes. Gets the dog right up there, comes all the way back. And I'm still locked on to the bomber. And he says something and then releases the dog a second time. And this time, the dude's on the other side of the tent. Like I said, I can only see his head. And the dog gets to him, it's obscured behind the tent. So I don't know if the dog bit him or was about to bite him. Whatever it was, it made him decide it's time to fight. And I see him come up with a AK-47 with an EOTech on it. And it's weird. I mean, weird things happen when you're under a lot of stress. I remember thinking in a picosecond, that's an AK-47. It's not an SKS. That's Russian made. It has an EOTech on it. Would he have a Picatinny rail on the dust cover? I wonder if he can maintain zero. Like, all that went through my head in like a tenth of a second.
Yeah.
But as I see the gun come up and it's pointing at my teammates 70 yards away, and I press the trigger, he goes down hard. And the dog rockets back to his handler. And that dude, he laid flat. My first thought was, I cycled the bolt, and my first thought was like, did I hit him? Did I miss him? Did he jump? What just happened? I'm 200 yards away, but I'm zoomed in to where I can see it 21 yards. I feel like I'm 21 yards just hovering in the air over him. And so I dial back the glass a little bit, and I see this big basketball-sized stain in his upper chest where my crosshairs had been. And he lifts his head up for a second and looks around, puts his head back down. And I'm on the radio, and like, hey, sniper's hot, don't advance. Guy just tried to shoot at us. We know that he's tried to light a bomb off. Let's just wait a second. And so we threw a flashbang at him, no response. Troopers fired beanbags at him. He gets hit with the beanbag. I'm zoomed all the way back in, and his eyes don't move at all. I'm like, okay, this guy's gone. And so the team came up, and they immediately handcuff him because he's under arrest. Get all the guns. He has a bunch of guns. They get all the guns away from him. They start doing CPR. They're putting quick clot in him. They get BVM, chest compressions, and the ambulance is here now, but it can't get to him. They pick him up with a stretcher, and they run him 150 yards to a stretcher, and he doesn't survive it. But so we come down from the mesa and rally with the team. Supervisors are out there, so they're like, hey, I need your rifle. How many rounds do you have left? What kind of ammo were you using? And they're taking rifles for evidence. And I'm like, hey, where's the dog handler? Where is this dude? And there's a bunch of troopers all kind of clustered over, and the one dude over there with his dog. And I just went over to him and I said, hey, your dog saved lives today, man. Like, I know you probably know that, but whatever I have is yours. Like, there was sort of a standing agreement with at least Oklahoma Highway Patrol and Oklahoma FBI is that if they pulled one of us over, we had to pay road tax. I got a lot of ammo. I mean, in the fat and happy days in the Bureau, I shot 20, 30,000 rounds a year every year. And so I always had cases of ammo. So I'd have troopers pull me over, just look at me like, I go, road tax? They were like, hell yeah, dude. All right. That a 357 SIG or a 40? And then I get a 40. I'm like, all right. And so I told that dude, I go, how much road tax do you want? And he goes, how much do you have? And I said, you can have all of it. Like, you can have everything in my truck, man. Like, the resolution today boiled down to a well-trained dog, which, thank God. I remember in that moment where the dog went behind the tent, and I see the AK-47 come up. And it's weird how, like, your brain goes into this ultra-high processing mode, at least for me. Yeah. I feel like the frame rate changes. And they call it tachypsyche, like the world slows down, but it's almost like
your brain speeds up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, oh, God, where's that dog? Okay, I'm aiming at his upper spine, lower neck. there's no way the dog's that high. And meanwhile, and the whole time I'm pressing the trigger. And I remember thinking, what if I shoot this guy's dog? Yeah. But also he has an AK and he's shooting. But anyway, when the dog rockets back to his handler, I felt a huge sense of relief that, dog was uninjured. And I mean, really saved the day. So when we got an award for that, they flew us to DC and they gave the whole team a medal called the Shield of Bravery. Like if you were there, you got the medal. And we took the trooper, K9 handler, and his buddy, we took them to DC, paid for the trip, paid for a hotel room, brought their family, and awesome. They got the FBI Shield of Bravery too. It was critical to have
awesome.
That. Yeah.
Man, what a great story.
Thanks,
a couple of questions on it. So the dog, to your knowledge, the dog never bit him, or you don't know?
I don't know. I don't know to this day.
Yeah. Did you debrief the handler at all about, did you give him recall commands? Did he come back on his own? Did you get his kind of operational side of the story or no?
I reached out to him yesterday thinking about this and the canine part of it. Yeah. I wish I'd started researching it again, but I wanted to reach out to those guys and ask them exactly what happened and did they recall him and what, because I wish I could have had that and included it in the book, but when all that went down, I was on top of a mesa.
Yeah.
Tired and thirsty and angry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, I mean, I think it speaks to the efficacy of the dogs, and that that's pretty common. Is that they're so small, quiet, and fast that they do a better job than human beings by a landslide in terms of speed, stealth, etc. And also manage to most times not get either themselves or the humans hurt. If humans had gone, probably would have gotten into a gunfight. Would have been reasonable to assume that one or more of our side, if you want to call it that, would have been shot. And by sending the dog, neither of them get shot. Not even the dog gets shot. So it's really almost ironic. I mean, it's no different than like a lab flushing out pheasants.
Yeah.
Is that it got him to expose himself and show intent, and I assume that that's necessary on your end to engage, is that you have to see him with a gun pointing it at.
Yeah, there has to be a reasonable suspicion that they're going to cause death or serious bodily injury to themselves or others. Yeah. So,
how big of a gatekeeping is there with ensuring that that's him from a a facial recognition standpoint or a proof of identity before you engage in that way? Obviously all of the descriptions match, but is there like a go, no-go checklist with being able to engage him and ensure that it's the guy we're looking for and not some hunter that just has the same stuff?
Right. That I think is one of the really hard parts of the job for law enforcement that might be different in the military, that they, the team leaders, basically commander's intent was go find this guy, see if it's him. We go find a guy and there's a lot of evidence, make, model, color, pickup truck, this guy's general description, crazy, looks a whole lot like him. Like I'm not going to shoot him. The goal is to arrest him. And so ideally we drive up, we say this is the FBI, and he goes, shucks, man, you guys got me. And now we can do fingerprints and all the PID that we need to bring him in for a warrant, drop him off at the marshals, and he gets his day in court. The hardest part is in between, where we're up on the mountain for hours looking at this guy, mostly through observation glass, spotting scope, binos. And then as the operation starts to roll and there's a chance of it going kinetic, I'm back on my bolt gun. And even then, I'm not putting the crosshairs on him. Because in my head, I'm like, I don't know who this guy, right? Maybe it's some bird watcher and the same make, model, color truck has the same body description and hair color as the bomber from Florida. I don't even put the crosshairs on him for the longest time. But then then I didn't go into any detail about this. When the armored vehicle rolls up, they're on the PA and they're saying this guy's name. They're saying, Mike Ritland, this is the FBI. We have a warrant for your arrest. You have to come with us.
Let's talk about shit I hope I never hear.
So, and I can hear him on top of the mesa. I can hear the PA on top of the mesa. And I remember actually telling him, hey, there's no doubt this dude hears you. I can hear you way up here. he's in his tent and he's hearing it. And so if it wasn't your name, you could probably be like, I don't know who that dude is, man. Don't shoot me.
Yeah.
And he didn't do anything, and then that's where a lot of training and instinct comes in, where I thought, if all the hairs are standing up on the back of my neck right now, why is that? Okay, this guy's not following commands. He does look like the subject. The subject we're looking for is very violent, and I can't let this guy kill anybody. And then that split second, after hours of sitting patiently bored, it's a quarter second of you got to shoot right this second because he's about to shoot your teammates.
Yeah.
And at that point, it doesn't matter what his ID is. He's a shooter. He's trying to kill people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine that the difference between that and us overseas is pretty significant. You guys have it way harder as far as that goes. Now, granted, the rules of engagement can be far more strict than others at times, and
Sure.
that makes all the difference in the world. Whereas with you guys, it's pretty standard. It's just always hyper strict, which I think is good. I mean, if you're in a law enforcement capacity here in the United States, I think you should always err on the side of ensuring that you have the right guy and not being willy-nilly with it. But equipment-wise, for FBI snipers, is it normal or standard where you have a handful or a few different platforms to choose from that the FBI says, hey, there's these 5 weapons and you operationally pick, or do you have more leeway and flexibility to pick like, a 300 blackout or a something that's not in the normal arsenry?
I felt lucky we got a pretty good variety, and the longer I stayed in, the better the variety got.
But it's still dictated what you can pick from?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So there are weapons that are assigned to you as an agent. There's weapons that you can be checked out to you as an operator from the vault. And then there are weapons you're allowed to buy, get registered and certified. You have to send it to Quantico, and they send it back, and they're like, you can carry this specific gun. So when you go to Sniper Basic, they want you to bring your bolt gun. And then at Advanced, you'd be crazy not to bring your bolt gun because we're shooting to 1,000. And it's sort of the sniper rifle. That's our precision bolt action rifle. It's the one that you get to carry. One of the things that came out at Glass Mountain, our SWAT coordinator, who is a supervisory agent, is a friend of mine, still is a friend of mine, had a lot of connections back when he was a firearms instructor back at Quantico. And I talked to him about it. I said, when we went up on the mountain back then, 2010-ish, I had a 24-inch barrel bolt action precision 308. Great gun for hitting one MOA out to 1,000.
What brand was it?
It was HS Precision.
Okay.
Sucked to carry up the side of it. It was a big, old, heavy beast of a gun. It's hard to get in and out of a helicopter. It's hard to get in and out of a Hummer.
Great if you're taking an elevator to a rooftop.
Yes. And we've done that.
Yeah.
And my teammate took a 14.5-inch AR with a M4 select fire with an EOTech.
Yeah.
But we didn't have magnifiers. We didn't have low power variable optics. And so I kind of had a little bit of a platform from that because people heard about that shooting to say, hey, it's not that big of a deal to authorize like a 1-6 or a magnifier. And back at Quantico, they're very controlling, and maybe that's a good thing. But they'll say like this scope is authorized, that's not. And so at some point they said, well, this, particular brand, make, model, scope you can buy and carry. And then at one point we found a stash of surplus SR-25s, and we gobbled those up and issued them all around. And so at one point I had a bolt action 308, a suppressed SR-25. We had 14.5-inch uppers for our M4s that had 1-8s, and then magnifiers and ACOGs. And so, later in my career, I had probably 5 or 6 weapons in my sniper suite to pick from.
Yeah. Did you use that bolt action 308 most of the time?
Early in my career, I did. I used it because it was that or a red dot.
Yeah.
And then as we started getting more and more options, like near the end of my career, I had a personally owned FBI approved 16-inch match AR, and I had an approved 1:8 scope, and I could put my PVS 22 on it for night vision. I could put my IR flood on it. I could put my PEC 15 right at all the gear I could cover up real estate with, but we would stalk within 100 yards of most objectives to do overwatch. And a lot of times after that, we'd collapse in for the assault for CQB. So sometimes I would carry my big bolt gun, and then I would have like my M4 in my pack, and I'd switch them out. Or I'd carry like a suppressed MP5, and I'd switch them out. And then later in my career, I thought, I could just carry this 16-inch with a 1:8, and
Do both.
I'll just dial it down to 1 and turn the magnification up if I get called in closer, or if I'm on stock and I have to defend myself. And then again, either with an 8-power scope and a 100-yard shot, that's even shooting a T-box. That's an easy shot. And some guys were like, why aren't you carrying your sniper rifle? If I had to shoot from 600-700 yards, I'd shoot that gun all day, but this is police work. I really don't need that much gun.
Yeah. So with that, I mean, what is the longest shot you ever took operationally?
Glass Mountain, 210 yards.
So everything was that or shorter.
Yeah, and that's I think there's only one or maybe two other shootings in the FBI that are further, and they're not much.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure you understand, and again, police shooting past 200-something yards, it's
almost non-existent.
not worth, it's not worth the liability. It doesn't make sense tactically.
Yeah. Ammo-wise, any flexibility there, or is it FBI-issued ammo and it's very specific?
It was issued, but we had a choice of ammo we could pick from.
And
We
what-
had like an open air match, like a Sierra Match King, and then we had bonded rounds, the soft point and the tipped they were really good for shooting through barriers, like shooting through glass, shooting through car doors, like reinforced bank windows, windshields. They wouldn't deflect. The great round. In the early days, those would shoot about 1.5 MOA. So inside 100 yards, I mean, I can deal with a 1.5 inch group, even in a hostage rescue shot. But if we were shooting for training for 300 or 400 yards, I'd switch back to the match round. So later in my career, when they started making that bonded round more accurate, it was still like 1.25 MOA, something like that. I started carrying that as my standard round because they didn't fly the same. I had different dope. I just wanted something simple. So near the end of my career, even though they gave us a selection, I said, give me that tip bonded round, and even a 1.5 inch MOA inside 200 yards. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. I mean, did you not have options? I mean, are you familiar with JP rifles?
Yeah.
I mean, they claim like a quarter MOA. I guess, why wouldn't you use something that's that accurate?
I think probably so when I first got in, we had custom made like Remington 700s that I think a lot of Marine gunsmiths probably helped us cobble together. And then the Bureau said, well, we want an off-the-shelf rifle, and we want one that we can completely disassemble and put it back together, and we don't have to worry about glass bedding. We want something aluminum bedded where an operator in the field could drop this in the mud, get it jammed up where it's not free floated, take it apart, hose it down, retorque aluminum bedding so that it has to still hit within 1 MOA of its old point of impact. And that was the HS Precision gun. And I think one of the reasons they won that contract is because that gun doesn't jam. Now that I'm retired and I've gotten into PRS shooting, I'm 100% spoiled. Like I shoot a 6 Creed most of the time, and if it doesn't shoot a 1/2 inch group, I'd be mad.
Yeah.
And on good days, it'll shoot a 1/4 inch 5-shot at 100 yards. Great big pig of a gun. I don't want to, my wife might be watching this. I don't want her to know how much I spent on it. But like really premium gun, but it's a little fickle. Like every few hundred rounds, it'll start to build up enough carbon in the chamber that I'm like, I've had to walk away from a match and be like, I got carbon in the chamber.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of like when we carried 1911s.
Yeah.
What a cool gun.
However.
However. Yeah, great big heavy gun, not a lot of BBs, and it needs to be pretty clean.
Yeah.
Compared to a Glock 19, you can pretty much.
Yeah, you can shoot out of the water.
Yeah.
So to make a recommendation for kind of what you're talking about, the workhorse that maybe isn't quite as accurate, but is more AK-like in its durability, would you still go with that HS precision rifle, like for what's available now? Like for a listener to say, hey, I want to drop $7,000 on a bolt gun that, you know, will shoot a gnat's ass at 800 yards, but something that, you know, is a good, effective sniper rifle that kind of checks those boxes. Is there anything better nowadays?
Man, with a balance between reliability and accuracy, I got to admit, now when I hang out with some of my teammates and I pick up their guns, I'm like, it feels sloppy.
Yeah.
But I also remember, like, I won't say who, and maybe it was me, but we'd go 600, 700, 800 rounds without cleaning the gun at all.
Yeah.
Partly because we just wanted to see
How it would do.
like I did that with my Glocks, you know, I'd run them 4,000 or 5,000 rounds just to see if they jam, and then I'd clean them, and they just, but knowing that even in civilian stateside stalking situations, I've climbed through a muddy ditch and drug myself across the mud, and I would think I would rather have something like the HS Precision that it would reliably shoot about a minute out to 900 yards. Thing never jammed. Feels kind of sloppy.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, like a little bit of AK-47, there's enough chamber tolerance that it just isn't going to jam. You can't. The main reason I would carry a bolt gun most of the time is because I wanted absolutely sure the gun would fire.
Right. Ever use like drag bags or anything to
Early
keep...
on,
Yeah.
hated them.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things we do is over the beach, you know, where we're,
Oh, yeah.
you know, getting out of a small inflatable boat out past the surf zone and have to go through all the way through the surf zone. And anybody who spent any time in the water at the beach, you know, that waist and below water is half sand, half water, you know, and so yeah, dragging all your stuff through that. I mean, you have sand everywhere, and
Yeah.
and so like for us, it's really a necessity when there's any type of maritime stuff. But I was just curious, like if you're doing an insertion where you're crawling through mud and sewage ditches or whatever, that you would ever use that. But going back to the ammo question, any specific brand, like were you able to use or purchase like Buffalo Bore or Federal HST or any stuff like that, or it was all issued stuff from the FBI that had to be used?
It was issued stuff.
Yeah.
And I was fine with it. That stuff's really expensive.
Yeah.
And they gave me a lot of it, so.
Yeah. Of all the cases, missions that that I listed that are from the book, are most of them sniper shots?
Maybe I have to think about it. No.
Okay.
No.
How many operational sniper shots did you take?
I'll just say a handful.
A handful.
Yeah.
Of the other missions that I mentioned, can you kind of detail similarly the way that you walked through the last one of those that stands out that's not a sniper mission?
We woke a Carney hostage rescue. I was not. We had snipers out, but I was not deployed as one of them. Want me to get into that?
Sure, yeah.
There was a similar thing. It was not a planned mission. I mean, there's planned missions where you're out rehearsing, doing reps, and then there's just call outs. This is one of those. It was just a call out. This dude had gone to Kansas and taken his ex-wife hostage and I think her 2 daughters, tied them all up, and then took one of the daughters and brought her back to his little rural cabin in Carney, Oklahoma, and had her there against her will. And so they called it, like, hey, out here, rally. If you see a helicopter, that's the place to be. And we got out there, and the team leader briefed us up. He's like, I don't even know how, but he's like, we got solid intel. Dude is in the cabin right over that hill, and he has this young woman hostage. And so we're going to come up with a plan. So we start planning for what we'll normally do is we split up into 2 teams, and we'll have a deliberate hostage rescue plan and a hasty hostage rescue plan. So just like it sounds, the hasty plan is if he starts killing people right now, we're going to go do, if it's an aircraft, these are killing people right now, we're going to shoot a hole through the APU, take an axe to the side of the plane. This is what we're going to do. And then the deliberate plan would be, what is it, a 700 series, 737? Oh, okay. At what max weight? Okay, so it'll squat 41 inches. So we want to set the ladder so the ladder squats 41 inches. And then we'd want to shut down the APU with the halon, all that, right? And then you would go, hey, someone go get us a 737 and that make model series, and we need the seating arrangement to be the same. And so we hadn't even got to the deliberate plan yet. The team leader was just like telling me and the assistant team leader, come up with a hasty plan right now. There's not very many dudes here. Guys are still driving in from around the state. And then he's told 4 snipers, I wish I could send you guys out in 2-man teams or give you spotters. We don't have enough guys here yet, and we need intel, so go out there. Go to 4 opposing points without crossfire and set up sniper positions and start getting intel. And so pretty quick, one of them was like, hey, dude's truck is out here. Zoomed in, get the tag, ran the tag, that's dude's tag. Okay, all right, well, that's good. And before we can really start going into too much, there's a gunshot. And that was it. The command post just gave us execute, execute, execute. And so we're on the truck going. The hasty plan was basically go primary breach, point breach, standard CQB clear. And, as you know, hostage rescue tactics they're fast and they're sacrificial. It's not slow and methodical. It's if we don't do this real quick, someone's going to die. And so maybe one of us has to be the one that dies. And we get there, pop the door, breach it, flood the house, clear it, nothing. So now we're thoroughly confused. Dude's supposed to be here, truck's out front, there was gunfire. And I look in the gun cabinet, and the place is nasty. There's like stalactite, like cobwebs hanging from the ceiling. There's cat pee and dirty clothes. It's disgusting. And there's like a clean spot where a rifle was in this rifle rack, old school glass door kind of rifle rack, and there's like a clean spot. I'm like, crap. So I fire up the radio and I tell the snipers, dude might be out there with you right now and then has his rifle. And it's a pretty long story, so I'll try to make it short, but we reset, okay? Like, not going to be a hostage rescue. They're not in there. We're going to have to start patrolling and set a hard isolation. And can't count on isolation for long because she's still in jeopardy. You have to set isolation with troopers and everybody else we can, divide up into sectors, and we got to start patrolling, which sucks because it's daytime and that's this dude's land. And he has all these deer hunting rifles, so it's reasonable to suspect he knows all the good hidey spots, and he probably knows how to shoot that rifle. And luckily for us, he comes across my teammate, Mackie, same dude that was on Glass Mountain with me, sees him in the ghillie suit. And I think his mind spun up, and he was like, oh, there are snipers. And he actually yells to him, like, hey, if I give her up, don't kill me. So he's like, yeah, of course not. Send her to me. And meanwhile, he's calling us and telling us, hey, come get me, send the helicopter. We're trying to get the helicopter to his location. He's ghillied up. We're talking to troopers on a different radio. They have a different way that they talk to each other. And so we just get on the truck and we're racing out to him. And when we get there, I see this girl running out of a wood line and go hide behind this bush that's my teammate. And we scoop them up and race out of there. And for whatever reason, dude gave her up. And then we got her safe and got her to where someone could debrief her and medics could look at her. And they're like, all right, we got to load back up and go do this again. Starting with wherever we saw him last. And then start doing a spiral search and hope this dude doesn't cap one of us in the process. And so we divide up with the troopers into sectors. They bring out bloodhounds and stuff, and there's another dog story. Yeah, they're looking. The county came out with bloodhounds, and they've got the bloodhounds out working, and we're out in the distance, and we run. I was like, oh my god, I hope that dude didn't just shoot a trooper. This is what I was afraid of the whole time. And we run to him. We're trying to call him on the radio, but our radios won't work because we use different bandwidths or something. And we get there, and guy capped himself. So not a great story in retrospect. I mean, but
well, no, it is. I mean, to me, it just highlights the intricacies of not just what you guys do and the kind of variety of situations that you run into, but also how dynamic they are, how many opportunities there are for them to go woefully wrong. especially when you're interagency working because of the radio issues that, we run into that same, or have run into that same problem in the military. I mean, it's a little better because it's usually, even if you're talking to Marines, it's like you have this, generally the same equipment or similar enough. It's not total different everything the way that, the FBI and a state patrol might run into. So it's a little more consistent, but still has some of those same issues of SOPs and what have you. But to me, the surprising thing about that whole story, though, is it's like if his goal was to not die and giving her up, like, then why did he off himself? I mean, maybe just realizing how much his life is now going to be over for what he's just done, and decides, man, screw this just isn't worth it.
Yeah.
I mean,
It could be, that's what we run into. One of the most violent and dangerous warrants that we served, and the reason we lost 2 agents downrange in Florida, is that child predators, not only will they kill themselves, but man, they'll kill anyone. And then, and so many times there's no criminal past, so we're in this conundrum where we got to go out and arrest this dude because he's like, in some of these cases they're producing child pornography. Like, they have children in a studio, and we have to go right now, put an end to this, and a bad man goes to jail and kids are rescued. And you want to bring everything, right? Let's bring tanks and helicopters and everything we got. But there is this perception of, like, bringing too much force to the fight for people that are uninitiated that can cause, I think, in all law enforcement agencies, sometimes they'll throttle back and go, well, this guy doesn't have any criminal record. We don't know for sure if there's a studio, but there is porn coming out of this place, and so you need to serve a warrant, maybe wear your vest, knock and talk. Well, that happens in Florida. The dude lights up through the door, burns down 7 agents and task force officers wearing their armor, shooting an AR, and kills 2 of them dead. And I think if they had just shown up with a tactical team and breached the door, people would be screaming bloody murder. Why in the world are you showing up with military-grade equipment to arrest a pedophile? But those pedophiles, man, it's uncanny how many times they are ready to fight to the death and then kill themselves real quick.
Do you think it's because they know what their life is going to be being caught, not just the initial repercussions, but they're going to go to jail and what's going to happen to them there, that plays a big role?
I think it does. I think a bigger role, having interviewed some of those people and trying to get inside their head, is that everyone I've talked to, they carry an enormous weight of shame. Like, they know they're evil. And they've been ready to kill themselves for a while. Now that secret is out, I don't even think it's like, man, it's going to be rough in prison. People are going to treat me bad. I'll lose my job. It's more like, I know I'm evil, and I'm going to put myself down.
I mean, to me, there's a weird contradiction there in that, like, if they know they're evil, I mean, did you ever kind of get them to rationalize or try to explain to you their rationalization of, if you know it's evil and wrong and you're ashamed, why are you doing it? Like, because to me, if the disconnect is, I don't think there's anything wrong with what I'm doing. Okay. I mean, I still think instead of showing up with a tactical unit or a tank, you should show up with a wood chipper and put them feet first through it.
Yeah.
But did you ever get any kind of answer from them as to, their perspective on the why behind it?
Well, I'm no expert, but we've briefed some of these cases to, like, guys in the behavioral science unit, and they'll talk about, there's preferential pedophiles, and
what does that mean?
Kind of like if they could choose, they would choose a child. And then there's situational pedophiles, like I just want to use someone like a monster would, like an object, right? But when you interview these folks, one of the things that you do, and I think you use the word, is you rationalize. And so you want to get in their head, and so it's really hard, but you have to not show disdain, much less hatred or disgust. and just kind of get through this, like, hey, I know you did this. I don't need you to tell me that you didn't. Like, we're way past whether you did or didn't do it. I just want to know why. And a lot of them would say, like, ultimately would say, hey, listen, my dad did this, my uncle did this, like, it was done to me. And so it just feels like something I should do to other people, and they knew it was wrong. Or like, I know it's wrong. But I just feel like it's almost, I'm way out of my depth talking about this kind of stuff right now. But like they know something was short-circuited by the way they were abused and that they never dealt with it. But like I've definitely seen guilt and shame from people involved with child pornography, like deeply wallowing in shame, but still like energized enough by their evil desires to continue to pursue them.
Yeah. Was there ever any other rationalization on their end that you experienced as to why they were doing what they were doing, or was it always kind of in that same?
There's lots. It's not fun stuff to talk about, but
I think it's important though, because
Yeah.
to me, people need to know, not just. I mean, everybody knows that it's out there,
yeah,
but I think understanding the mentalities of these people,
Yeah.
I think should make it easier to recognize, especially if it's. I mean, none of it's logical, but like,
Yeah.
if it's even less logical in terms of making the connection, if it helps one person listening to be like, wait a minute, I heard about this once, and this scenario I think sounds like that. Like, is there anything else you can share that would be beneficial for people to hear?
yeah. Another fairly common rationalization would be, I was just trying to show them what love was. They were going to do it eventually, so I wanted to be there first. One of the main ones, like I said, was like someone did it to me, and so it feels like something I should do to someone else.
Did you ever ask them, like, if somebody steals from you, does that make you feel like you should steal from somebody else? Or is that counterproductive in an interrogation?
Yeah, and the weird thing about it, if you're doing, I feel strongly, if you're doing an interrogation by the book, and they sent me to a lot of interview schools, it's getting to the point where the person trusts you enough to tell you their deep, dark secret. And usually when someone got to that point of actual confessing, you would see it in their body language. They would just be like they were relaxed, like it was, the weight was gone. And they would just go, yeah, I did this, and I did this, and I did this. And you just have to keep a straight face and go, okay. Jean-Benet Ramsey, she was just so beautiful. Oh, yeah, okay, right. Let's not talk about the fact she was a kid, you piece of crap. Okay, I can't say that. I have to go, yeah, okay, no. Yeah, I can see how someone, and even have to choose your sentences properly, I could see how someone could think that she's beautiful, age appropriate. But you can't ever say you're a sick monster. Like, I'm disgusted sitting across from the table with you because you want them to say what they did is important, but why they did it is, that's what makes a confession bulletproof, when they give their reasoning.
Yeah. Was there any way out of left field reasoning that you ever heard in doing your interrogations? Like, or I guess one that you hadn't heard before, that you were surprised by because of it being rare, or?
Can't think of anything.
Are any of the operations that we listed off involving a child predator?
No.
So I guess in the capacity of all the years outside of the SWAT missions that you went on in your investigations doing counterintelligence, what were some of the examples of the counterintelligence stuff uncovering pedophiles? Or would that not be smart to divulge that?
They didn't cross. I think maybe what you're getting at is that.
Well, I guess how did you find yourself in the position to do that? But again, I want to be really careful and to not give any of the playbook or even a glimpse of an assertion of what the playbook is to find these guys, to give them any type of reverse engineering to better hide. So if it doesn't make sense to talk about it, then please don't.
No, I think I can kind of explain what you're getting at. I worked in a little office called the Resident Agency, both in Norman and Stillwater. So it was sort of an outpost, a satellite office, no supervisor, no staff. It's just 2 or 3 agents. and then all your crap, printer, fax machine, crypto, TS machine, email, all your room full of junk. And it was just basically we went to go write reports and maybe do interviews and take someone's prints. And then the big FBI offices, the field offices, there's 56 of those. And so like Dallas is a field office, but Dallas will have little resident agencies where they have outposts. So Oklahoma is a really good example because Oklahoma City is a field office and its territory is the state of Oklahoma. Makes it really simple. And so Tulsa and Muskogee and Norman and Stillwater, they have these little outposts. So if you're in a big field office, you're on a squad, and the squad's what you do. So if I were in Oklahoma City or Dallas or a big field office and I was assigned to counterintelligence, I would sit with a squad of other counterintelligence agents with a CI supervisor and CI analysts and CI clerical staff. And we would our whole world would be CI all day. And then because I worked in university towns and towns that had some peculiar high-tech equipment that would be sought after by hostile intelligence services, they decided, well, let's put this guy in this field, in this satellite office to work counterintelligence, but the mission of the resident agency is to serve a territory. So again, like if I was in Oklahoma City early on, they're like, you're on the bank robbery squad. Any bank robberies, you work it. If it's not a bank robbery, man, who cares? You're on the bank robbery squad. Working in the little RA, the bank got robbed, I stopped what I was doing, I went to the bank robbery. And then someone killed a child on Indian country, I ran out and I worked the homicide. And then someone called in a child porn tip, I went and worked it. So there were times in Stillwater where I was the only agent there, either the only agent assigned, or if there were 2 or 3 of us assigned, maybe one guy had a sick kid and the other one was testifying out of state. So while my main job is counterintelligence, and that's what I'm focusing my efforts on, when I get a call and someone, like there was different ways that we caught child pornographers that I probably won't tell you just because it tells you how we catch them.
Right.
But there were certain phone call where I'd get where they'd go, hey, this IP address, this information, you might want to put that in a warrant, and then you might want to, before the day's end, go bring a bunch of guys, knock and talk, and then collect this guy's computer as evidence or whatever equipment he had at the house, go collect that. So I found myself in that where I'm working on counterintelligence matters at my desk or at the university, and I'd get a cell phone call and they're like, you need to go back to the office because we got a lead. And I'm like, oh, okay, everything stops. Now I'm an Innocent Images VCAT investigator. And so I ended up being a jack of all trades.
Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility to deal with. So I mean, again, there are a ton of great stories in Send Me. We only covered 2 of them. There's 10 plus more that are every bit as exciting as the ones that you already talked about. As you got towards the end of your career, was there a turning point or a catalyst that made you decide, I think my time with the FBI is done, or was it just time and service-wise, you were just kind of ready to retire, or how did that shake out?
So there's several parts to it that all kind of collided. One of them is that you're eligible to retire at 50 if you have 20 years of service in, and then at 57 they kick you out. So you already know going into it, somewhere between 50 and 57 I could decide to go, or I can wait until my 57th birthday and have them lock the door on me. And early on, I thought, like, this is the job of dreams. I literally go out on someone's worst day, and I bring them hope and help and bring justice to their lives. I wouldn't want the lawmakers to know this, but I'd do it for a lot less than they paid me. Like, I would love to do that. I loved doing that job. And then when I became part of the team, I became part of this tighter brotherhood. Like, we just went through, it wasn't intentionally a secret club, we just went through so much crap together that when you just lock eyes in the hall, you look at each other like, man, the thing that we did yesterday that no one knows, and so I was always a good investigator. I put good effort into that, but I really wanted to contribute to the team. So as that time went forward, I thought, I don't know if I can be in the Bureau anymore if I can't be on the team. I don't know. I think maybe you probably understand that the Naval Special Warfare Operator. Like,
Yeah, it's very similar.
would you come back and be a clerk for the team? You know?
No, I mean, even, there comes a point, rank and time in and age and all those things kind of together, plus what your experience already is. Like, you can only do certain things so many times or for so long, generally speaking. There are some exceptions, but to where now it's like you're basically a desk guy. Now, it's not you're a personnelman for a SEAL team. It's you're an ops chief or
Gotcha.
a task unit chief or a task unit commander or whatever. So, like, you're still involved in the sled dog platoons that are deploying, but you're doing something administratively for them. Now, it's not making sure they're getting paid on time. It's organizing logistics for deployments or, so there's some involvement, but even that, like 95, 98% of the dudes that if they have, 15, 18, 20 plus years in behind a gun, kicking doors in or whatever, once they get to a point where it's like, hey man, you're done operating, so here's your three choices that are whatever. A lot of times people say, all right, well, party's over.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's similar.
I think if there was an option more like that for us, I probably would have stayed longer, but there really wasn't. Like, you were either on the team or you're all the same pay grade or you're off the team. And even the supervisor that is the SWAT coordinator over the team, he's not the team commander. He gets paid more. He's a supervisory level agent, but he doesn't make tactical decisions. He doesn't decide what training we do. And then the ASAC has to be out on the next higher level. They need to be out and involved. There's one ASAC assigned sort of as the team ASAC. Same thing though. He probably hasn't been an operator. The supervisor maybe has been an operator at some point for a brief time, but the guy is actually doing the fight. You're either in or you're out.
Yeah.
And so I decided to, like, in my 40s, when I walk off the team, I'm just leaving the whole agency.
Yeah.
I would like rather make one clean break and just go, and that's all, and walk out. And
then Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers it and go to a bunch of other teams and do a terrible job and and not be remembered as the giant that you were.
And going out between 50 and 57, there's a temptation to stay. And there were guys that were badass in their mid-50s, and there were guys that weren't.
Yeah.
And everyone just kind of turned like, that's old so-and-so, and he's old school SWAT. That dude's legit. Like, back in the day, that guy used to wreck it. Not right now. I'm not sure he really passed the last fitness test, but no one's going to question, like, you're on the team, you can stay in back.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I know because we had selection regularly, there are guys that wanted on the team, and there's only so many slots. And I got 21 years. And the pension doesn't go up that much. And so I just thought, man, when I'm eligible, I'm going to make a clean cut from everything.
Yeah.
Do something different.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. To me, it would make good operational sense, though, to, for that guy in his mid-50s that physically just can't do it but has such a depth of experience to say, hey, we're going to keep you as a facilitator, trainer, advisor. Like, you're still an active FBI guy, but you're not taking one of the billets of an actual shooter, and you're just helping train and advise and whatever. Like, why wouldn't they do that?
That's a good question. I think along those lines, I did ask about, like, hey, if I stepped off as an operator and a team leader, what if I ran as an FBI certified medic who was attached to the team?
Yeah.
And the team leader was thrilled. He's like, yeah, a guy who's been a medic for 20 years, we would love to have that. And I think selfishly, I was like, wait, I got to turn in all my gear. I got to wear a slightly different uniform. I got to stand on the outside.
Yeah. Not in the cool kids club anymore.
It wasn't even like just a lack of being in the club. It was like, what if someone's downrange in that house right now in the fight, and they take a bullet, and I'm standing out here on the curb with a medic bag? I should have been in that house.
Yeah.
I would almost rather not know that the op is going down. When I first got off, I was still so tight with the guys that, they'd tell me, like, hey, we're going to get together for lunch tomorrow, but we got this big op in Kansas City. Well, what are you guys doing? Like, don't worry about it, man.
That's the
I'd rather just not know. Yeah. Like, I'd rather not know than know that there's an op and my boys are going out and
I can't
I'm
tell
not
you
part of
that.
it. I would rather just be like,
Yeah.
now I'm an author. And,
Definitely makes sense on the decision to why it's time to move on. I'm curious, what year was that you retired?
that was 22.
22. So since then, there's been some fairly big profile FBI related things in the news, and kind of from a current event standpoint, I just had a few things that I'd love to get your take on. In your experience, I mean, having spent several decades, but it also seems like there was less kind of controversy in terms of FBI leadership and what have you. But even having said that, I mean, does the FBI leadership and the change of it one way or another typically impact the day-to-day operations and morale of the guys on the ground doing the job? Like, is that something that you guys talk about a lot and can impact pretty significantly?
It changes the mission a little bit, usually. It changes the morale a lot. It's hard to do a job that requires that much sacrifice and time away from home, and then get home and turn on the TV and hear people talking about how they don't trust or dislike the FBI. It knocks the wind right out of your sails. Usually most directors they don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
If they're presidentially appointed, the same example, like Secretary of the Navy's not an expert sailor. He's who the president said, you're in charge now. Like, that's been the case. There hasn't been a director who's been an agent since Louis Freeh, right when I joined in 99. Everyone since then, an attorney who has political pull. And that's fine. That's what, it is what it is, but they can change the mission, and that, like Mueller was like, hey, we need to be more like the CIA and we need to prevent a terrorist attack. And then, I had left before Kash Patel took over, but it's pretty clear that he wants to focus on some more basic crime stuff and less of the sophisticated counterintelligence, complex financial crime stuff that the Bureau, I think, is not only good at, but no one else really does it.
Have you, I mean, obviously you've kept in touch with guys that you used to work with that are still there. Mm-hmm. Can you talk or speak to the overall morale currently with Patel being in charge and just the way the country is going?
Well, I guess I should say, obviously I can't speak for the morale of 35,000 employees and 13,000 agents, but my friends across the country, the morale is down right now. Partly because of the way the media beats on the Bureau. It doesn't recognize like any of the wins. It gets just only the things they can criticize. And then there's sort of a wave of, and I hate to be political, but there's sort of a wave of like, we don't care, we could fire you at any moment, that seems to be going throughout the government, that really affects someone in a job where you're not in it for the money. You're in it because you really care about it. And then if someone says, hey, listen, we're trying to just cut back everywhere we can, we're going to cut people loose, pretty detrimental effect on morale.
Yeah. Would you say across the board, like everybody that you keep in touch with is not happy with the way things are going right now?
I think it's fair to say that morale is lower than it's been in a really long time.
Oh, that's surprising. Like, and I guess I'm also curious. I was obviously never in the FBI, but right after the election and hearing the talking points of Trump and the assumed people in the positions that he was going to put before they were in there, to me it seemed like that was a good thing and that it was going to be a good thing. And it sounds like a lot of people in different parts of the government, not just in the FBI. I can't say that about the military. I mean, from everybody that I know that's still in, morale is pretty high, but it's also a very different institution compared to anything federally exclusive to the homeland. Mm-hmm. Is that a surprise to you? Like, were you expecting things to be better than they are?
Well, to your point, I think for a lot of guys, morale went way up after the election and even after the appointment of Kash Patel. They had really high hopes for streamlining what the Bureau does Specifically, like, they talked about the administration in general, let's say, talked about fewer supervisors, more street agents. We got real excited. Like, Louis Freeh did that right before I joined the Bureau. Louis Freeh took over the Bureau and he goes, hey, why do we have this many supervisors? I'd like to know what the numbers are. I think there's about 13,000 special agents nationwide right now in the FBI. We've speculated, I wouldn't be shocked if more than half of those don't do the agent job. I wouldn't be surprised if more than half of those are some sort of supervisor, or they sit at a desk at headquarters, or they are in a lab. And some of them are critical, totally. But it's a lot of people with guns and badges that have to do a fitness test every year and carry a gun all the time that aren't doing a job that requires them to be fit and carry a gun. So there's that was the, I think for a lot of us was like, hey, we're gonna start putting some stuff back into shoe leather. Agents on the street doing the job, a whole lot less guys sitting behind conference room tables. And it didn't exactly pan out like that, you know?
So I guess is there not necessarily a quick fix, but an obvious fix?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, I think the fix is hard.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not quick or easy, but is it obvious? Like, is it, or it's too complex to be able to be like, well, if we would just do this, things would be way better. It's not that simple.
So just my personal opinion, having been an agent, I'm biased towards the agent position. And I hated it when I was in the Air Force, and they were like, well, the main reason for the Air Force is pilots. I was like, okay, what about the rest of us? So I don't mean to come across that way. Like, the Bureau is just about the special agent position. But I have that bias from having done it. The leadership of the FBI should be, in my opinion, FBI special agents that are given birth to follow the Constitution and to question things in an honest way. But now we've got, and there's always going to be a director who's a presidentially appointed bureaucrat, and they might be good or bad. But then usually the next person in command was the deputy director. The deputy director of the FBI is the senior-most gun-toting special agent with a badge.
He should be the gatekeeper of the organization.
Should be. He should have a different title, especially because in the FBI there's assistant directors, there's executive assistant directors, there's deputy assistant directors, there's assistant deputy directors. It's bananas. That's all true. At the headquarters levels, there's DAD, deputy assistant director, assistant deputy director, you know. So in that sea of acronyms, deputy director just sounds like one of these dudes but he's actually the agent, the gun toter that has usually been in the longest and has the most experience and got there because he's came up through the system and went through leadership. And so now you've got, not only do you have the director who's not an agent and rarely ever is, the deputy director, they picked a guy who's never been an FBI agent, and now he has and now so fourth down in the chain is a guy who actually has been an FBI special agent for 20, 30 years. I think it's the wrong direction. It would make more sense to have the FBI run by someone who's been doing the job. And he can report, like an admiral reports to the Secretary of the Navy, technically. But he's still an admiral, you know?
Who could make that change, or who would have to make that change to make it a requirement for at least the deputy director to have been an actual agent? Like, where would that change in statute come from?
That's tough to answer because it's been that way for like 125 years. We've never not done it that way until now.
Congress, maybe?
I think the president could snap his fingers. I think the president could just go, hey, it's the way we've always been, and go right back to it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. I think I already know the answer to this because we kind of already talked about it, and it sounds like it's probably all of them, but are there any current events or high-profile cases that you think the public misunderstands or that the media is misrepresenting? All of them? Is it safe to say all of them?
I don't know. I don't get, like, I listen to the news every day. I don't meditate on it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I call my old teammates and hey, what's the real scoop? And sometimes I just let it go.
Yeah.
Like, I stay really involved with my local events, my school board, my mayor, like my town, my chief of police. I start at the micro level. my church, people I volunteer with our food pantry,
Yeah.
and the big national events, they're important, but they don't carry the same weight, especially when they're full of speculation to me, than like, who's the new principal at my kid's school?
Yeah. I think that's a great way to look at it, and how I think if most people had that same type of perspective, I think the country would collectively be happier and more mentally healthy, you know.
Yeah.
Do you know any agents that had anything to do with January 6th or the investigation, and same with the Epstein investigation? Do you know anybody?
January 6th, I mean, tons and tons of people were tapped for that. I don't know anything about Epstein.
Yeah. Can you shed any light on the January 6th stuff?
So, from my perspective, I never got tapped with any of it, but there were guys that they were like, hey, this guy was from Tulsa, Oklahoma, was at the January 6th deal, and there's a chance that he was in proximity and he could have seen this guy like bash a police officer's head in with fire extinguisher. So you need to go interview him. And from a field agent's point of view, it's completely apolitical. Like everything that we did was always apolitical. I know the media doesn't portray it that way at all, but I can tell you with absolute certainty, like we didn't care about either party or how you voted or what color your hat was or whatever. Like it was, whatever the truth is what is going to set you free. And then whatever the truth is, I'm going to find all the evidence to show that that's either true or not true, and I'm going to report it. So, like friends of mine, they got January 6th leads, meaning go this little piece of a case. This dude was in Tulsa. He lives in Tulsa, and he was there. And so I would, if I got something like that, I would do it. Someone's probably going to be mad at me for saying that, but that's the truth. I would be like, yeah, sure, I'll go ask him. And then I would treat him like a friend and go, hey, man, I'm not mad. You're not in any trouble.
I mean, to me, I don't know why somebody would be mad at that. To me, wanting to know more information about what actually happened, I think everybody should strive for. But I think where, and I know I don't want to beat this dead horse, but I think where the problem stems from is that, you know, even if the guys on the ground are apolitical in terms of how they conduct themselves day to day, if the people who are directing them to do what they're doing day to day are very political because they're politically appointees from the executive branch, then inherently what they're doing is going to be driven from some sort of political agenda. And so, you know, the way the public sees that is they don't see a separation between it. It's the FBI is leaning on this, or they're highlighting this group and ignoring this one, or, you know, whatever. And so I think that's where the problem comes from, which is really unfortunate because, you know, I have a number of friends, you know, some former coworkers, you know, that are active in the FBI, some former. Every single one of them are some of the best dudes I know, you know, and say the exact same thing. Like everybody I worked with were guys I'd go to war with if we were in the SEAL teams together, like just nothing but phenomenal things to say. And guys that I know well enough to trust, you know, that if they didn't feel that way, they wouldn't say that. And they would even say the counter to that if that was accurate. So to me, it's just really unfortunate because I don't live in a world where I wish the FBI didn't exist. Yeah. Where I think some people do at this point, you know, and I think that sucks.
Well, I'll tell you, I told you I didn't want to get political, but now I'm kind of...
now you're pissed off. And
now I'm pissed off. No, so for example, like I'm thinking of a couple specific guys I know where they said, hey, go interview this guy. And they did, and they probably did exactly like I would. Hey, were you there? You're not in any trouble. Was it freedom of speech? Good. Like, huge fan of it. Did you see any crimes happen? Could you identify this person? Is there anything that you think I should know that I didn't ask you about? That's it, man. Thanks for your time. Yeah. You go back, you write it up, and an analyst is going to compare it and say, well, there's 3 witnesses to this police officer being attacked or whatever. It's just like, it's 100% intelligence gathering. And the FBI does not charge people. It's one of the things I've tried to hammer into people's heads when I meet them. I can't believe you didn't charge Hillary Clinton for this. Yeah. Can't believe you didn't charge, you know, this person for that. Like, the FBI's never, ever charged anyone. They find the facts. They present the facts to the U.S. attorney. The U.S. attorney either charges them or they don't. I've never charged anyone and never will. But when they started saying, well, we want a list of everybody involved in the January 6th investigation, I've got really good brothers, like solid dudes that were legitimately worried. Like, my name's going on a list of like betrayers for investigating it, when all I did was had coffee with some dude in Tulsa and said, hey, were you there? Cool. Did you see anything I should know about? Awesome. Thanks for your time, man. And now they're on a special list of agents and now agents are actually getting fired. You got guys like Driscoll, who's like a legend in the Bureau, like HRT operator, leader, and cares about the people, desperately cares about the mission. They fired him.
Man, that sucks.
It's egregious. So that's where the morale part comes in, where guys are like, okay,
Hang on.
I used to be in an organization where you could stand up and say, what we're doing is wrong and I won't do it. And people would go, oh, we're in trouble because guys are like, you could shout from the mountaintops, this is wrong, I won't do it. And it's turning a little bit into, if you don't do what we say, maybe you don't work here anymore.
Yeah.
It's super dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's dangerous in a number of ways, and ultimately makes the public less safe. When you're firing guys who have decades of experience, who are legends, from doing the job, that are being fired because of something like that. To me, it seems pretty obvious that it's a politically motivated, almost kind of witch hunt or retribution kind of thing, which is too bad. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Did you do any or have any experience with any type of cyber or digital crimes, counterintelligence stuff, and with just the advancement of technology, every year for the last 20 years? Like, can you put any color to, I guess, the danger of where we're headed, whether it's AI or CGI or deepfakes or whatever, like the integration of that into FBI field work?
I definitely had cases that were cyber cases. In almost every instance, it would be an embezzlement or a counterintelligence matter, and then I'd call a cyber crimes agent from headquarters, and they'd come out. And so I don't have any expertise in it.
Yeah.
I just saw tangentially how it would affect a CI or an embezzlement case.
Okay. What advice would you give somebody who is starting the application process for the FBI? Like, not from a here's how you get in, but just 30,000 foot view as somebody who spent, an entire career there. Like, what advice would you give them?
Well, I always want to ask people their motives. Like, I bet I meet with someone once a month and have coffee with them that want to know about joining the Bureau. And so I regularly meet and talk to young people. And I always usually ask them, what's your motive? Like, do you just want to do something cool? Like, if I said you could be an FBI agent or a Navy SEAL or an astronaut, it would be like any of those. Well, you don't really know what you want to do with your life. But if you know that you want to be a metropolitan police officer or a detective or an FBI agent, now I know that there's a certain thing that you want to do with your life. So if you just want to do something you think is glorious, you're going to be disappointed. Yeah. If you want to be a cop that has a lot of latitude to do good things, then this is a job for you. And be prepared. Be prepared to move. Be prepared. Like, count the costs. There's a sacrifice. It's going to have an effect on your marriage and on your kids. It's going to have an effect on your health. You're not going to get the sleep that you thought you would. You're going to, the stress is going to affect you. And you have to decide now, am I willing to step into the breach and let those things happen for the greater good? Or no, I'd rather take a job somewhere else. But you should know going into it that there are going to be prices that you pay as you go.
Yeah. All great points for sure. I know even in the 3+ years that you've been retired, this may not even apply to even where you were at the end of your career, but with the rise of AI and machine learning, how has that impacted the FBI's ability to solve cases and recognize patterns? And is it being leaned on and relied on as much as it probably could be?
I have no idea. Yeah. 3.5 years ago, it was
laughable.
Yeah. It was absurd
Yeah.
to think of using any sort of machine learning in a federal investigation.
Yeah. I figured as much. I mean, I know just like in the Chat GPT sense, it's like what it's capable of now versus even a year ago is astronomically different.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest challenges facing the FBI today?
I think public trust is going to be key. And I wish I knew an easy way to do that. I don't know an easy way to do that. I think here's my ugly personal opinion is that the media is not going to get more ad revenue by showing FBI wins. It's the criticism is generating a lot of money for a lot of rich people. That's my opinion. And it's undermining, like you know this, like culturally we've stopped trusting almost everyone about almost everything. It's frightening that almost everyone, including me, I see something on the news and I go, maybe.
Yeah.
Like maybe not, I don't know. So I think public trust for the FBI is critical. It would have to be like a united front, you know, for White House and Congress and the media and everybody. I think if you showed the nation, like the SIOC, the command center, and you're like, well, there's a kidnapping that just got resolved here, and then there was a terrorism takedown we just did right here, and that, like, if you just saw live all the FBI cases going on, you'd be like, oh my God, thank goodness we have the But you don't see any of that. You see the one mistake or second guessing that leads people to think. I mean, I've had people tell me, they're like, man, I bet you're glad you're out now. No, like I loved it.
Yeah.
It was great, and it's still great.
It reminds me of the Bob the Bridge Builder story. Have you heard that one? Mm-mm. Well, I mean, it's crass, but you know, you can spend 20 years of your life building bridges, doing a great job. You suck one dick, and you're Bob the cocksucker. It's really that same way. You know?
I heard that one.
Yeah, but it is. It's like, you know. So I mean, that makes me think. I mean, I assume that the FBI has like a PR detachment. Do they not?
Barely.
To me, that would help, I think, a lot, is to do exactly what you just mentioned, is have a PR wing. It's not like it needs to be hundreds of people where you're taking, you know, field agents off the line, but a specific targeted PR campaign that shares the wins of the FBI and say, hey, you know, here's this dirtbag we got off the street, and here's this case we solved, and, you know, celebrating it.
I love that.
You know,
I have always thought that the FBI should have someone that does positive PR like that, and also that will clarify news stories that are wrong.
Yeah, I mean, because that's something that the FBI can actually control, whereas the media, they can't.
Yeah.
You know, so that would be a counter that could be driven internally. I think the bigger or biggest problem is that, you know, when you have politically appointed leadership, like there's nothing the guys on the ground can do other than their job, you know, and if their job is being directed by somebody who has a very specific and intentional political agenda that they want your job to support, it's like, well, you either do your job and you toe the line or you get fired. It's like there isn't anything you can do, you know, and so really the only thing I think that the FBI could actually have control over is that PR campaign, since there's no way to make it mandatory that the director and the I already forgot
Deputy director.
Yeah, because there's already so many acronyms I can't remember.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to keep running that into the ground, but one thing I'm curious, how as an FBI agent, like throughout your entire career, did you balance or strike the balance between national security and civil liberties? Is that something that is focused on, that you guys are educated on how to navigate that? Is it ever something you struggled with? I mean, is that a kind of front sight focused thing for you guys?
It was something I felt like they did great at Quantico, and they maintained throughout my whole career. Like I've got an FBI SWAT coffee mug, and it says "Protecting the Constitution since 1973," and that's very much the attitude you'll get. Like early, probably,
only since 1973.
Yeah, that's when SWAT was formed.
Oh, I got you.
The guys are pretty hardcore patriotic. I tell people this all the time. We take an oath to the Constitution, not an oath to any person, any manager, any bureaucrat. So I can always say I can't do this because the Constitution says I can, and I can stand on that. And if I get fired, I can probably sue and get my job back with back pay. Like if you, so I loved that when I joined the bureau. I remember our law instructor saying, you know, how come you can't arrest this person right here? And someone would try to give an example, and he'd go, hey, let me just stop you at the Fourth Amendment. That's why. How come you can't, in this situation, you can't disarm this guy and this? Someone would try to explain it. He'd go, let me stop you right there, Second Amendment. Let me stop you right there. He can say what he wants, First Amendment. I loved that.
Yeah.
I was like, this is all, every time we would start getting in the weeds about what you can or can't do,
What's the Constitution?
our law professor would stop us and he would just say, hey, which one of the amendments are you not thinking of? Oh, yeah. He's like, that's the core of everything we do. And so when we did do, like, I think you were asking about counterintelligence investigations, if it was a U.S. citizen, it was a totally separate animal from a foreign national, non-official cover over here doing intelligence work, espionage work. If we thought there was a suspicion about a U.S. citizen, the bar is set so much higher. Like you can't, like in the movies they like to show just wiretaps all the time. The wiretaps suck so much. There's so much work. People want, like I know guys that just wanted to quit their job. It's so, and it should be. It should be really, really hard to tap a phone. You want to tap a U.S. citizen's phone, man, you're going to spend months and months and months, and then a judge is still going to criticize everything and set a time limit. And so, short answer to your question is, I always felt really confident that if that ever came up, I could just go, hey, we're violating that person's constitutional rights. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And it would be like throwing kryptonite into the room. The supervisors I worked with in counterintelligence, they were already on the same page with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's great to hear, and I agree. Like I love that as your Bible, you know, Constitution. What does it say? You know.
Yeah.
You mentioned that the bar for American citizens, and then the discrepancy between a foreign known intelligence asset. What about the non-American citizen that isn't the foreign intelligence asset? Because one of the things in a recent interview I did with the agent that arrested Moussaoui is that leading up to 9/11. He was denied by FBI leadership a search warrant to go through this guy's computer and notebooks. He's a non-U.S. citizen on an expired visa with accusations of terrorism network ties and provable known associations with wanted FBI terrorist list terrorists, and it was still denied. To me, shouldn't a non-U.S. citizen, especially on an expired visa, not have the same protections that a U.S. citizen would have?
Yeah, that makes I would love to know more about that because I think I already mentioned this, on 9/11, we went to go kick in Zacarias Moussaoui's door and search his apartment. Found the flight simulator, prayer rugs, pictures of New York Times, like the whole deal. And we got that warrant within hours of the attack.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know more about why that guy didn't.
I'd love to link you up with him.
Yeah.
Because it was a fascinating interview. Similarly, wrote a book about all the same stuff that we're talking about, but as it relates to, you know, kind of the one that got away, if you will, and all of his frustrations, both then and subsequently afterwards.
Yeah.
Are there any criminal elements or investigations that you're aware of that the FBI is focusing on now that would surprise people? I know you've been out for a few years, but just criminal trends or anything like that the current structure is focused on that people either don't know about or would be surprised to know that they're focused on?
I don't think it would surprise anyone, just that the FBI is being used to augment customs efforts right now.
Okay.
And that's had an effect on morale, where they've told agents, like, hey, you're going to be out rounding people up.
Customs Border Patrol.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
more
Homeland
Border
Security,
Patrol than Customs.
Homeland Security basically saying, hey, you're going to be out running around. And then when they say, well, what about, like, I have a sophisticated embezzlement, civil rights case, corrupt public official, counterintelligence, and they just go, hey, this comes from the top. You need to be out rounding up illegals. So that wouldn't surprise anybody, but it's they have offered to hire me back. They
got a
letter like, yeah.
Wow.
They said they'd hire me back, hire me back into the government to be an ICE agent for a year. But
Obviously, you turned that down.
I'm not. I don't know firsthand, but from what I've seen, it's not what you would think it would be. It's the guys who I know have done it are pretty unhappy with it.
Do you know why?
This is totally like third-hand information, but the guys I've talked to said that they haven't issued them in firearms, armor, cars, but they're giving them warrants. So they're like, well, can I carry my personally owned gun? Can I go buy a set of plates? Want me to drive my personal car? Like they haven't really figured out exactly how they're going to employ these guys. And then look at like people are getting shot off of rooftops trying to do that job. You got to give them plates and guns and equip them to do the job. So that may not be correct. That's third hand, but
Well, I mean, it would explain the using rented U-Hauls to transport people, and I do think I agree or stand behind the ability to wear a mask operationally. I think you should be able to mask your face when doing those things. Mm-hmm. But I will caveat that with it further highlights the need for a very specific uniform standard that's very distinct, that is not easy to copy, that is widely recognizable, and even maybe a campaign that says, here is what our guys will be wearing, they'll have this patch here, whatever, like make it, I mean, nothing is impossible to replicate, but when you have 30 dudes that none of them are wearing the same thing, half of them are in blue jeans and a hooded sweatshirt with a mask on and like one, patch that just says ICE on it in a U-Haul, in a Home Depot parking lot, rounding people up, not making them prove identities. It's like anybody could do that. Like cartels could kidnap droves of people, dress that same way, and it would be really easy. Like, who thought that was a good idea?
I'm with you, dude. Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's mind-boggling that that's the approach, and it's like, I don't get the whole mask thing. Like, to me, if you want to talk, and from both sides, like not seeing the forest for the trees, it's like, I don't care about the mask. Like, put a uniform on.
Right.
No other law enforcement group has such a ridiculous lack of uniformity. Mm-hmm. Like state patrol cops. I mean, whatever. Like, unless you're an undercover narc guy, which that's not what this is. Mm-hmm. I just I'm baffled at how you could fumble that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see like the first time maybe well, we learned our lesson, but it's still going on.
Yep.
I don't get it.
I 100% agree. Because we've done counter narcotics missions with the cartel in uniforms that are exactly as prescribed, patches exactly where they're supposed to be, unique numerical identifiers in balaclavas. I don't need the crap from the cartel. But it's like what you said makes perfect sense. If you see this group of uniformed guys with numerical designators, with specific identification, and they were wearing a uniform face covering, well, there's a reason for that. But you're right. It's totally different from wearing blue jeans and a backward baseball cap and
it's crazy.
Wearing a bandana.
Yeah, I mean, it's like some shit out of a movie. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just such an unforced error because, I think that, I mean, there's no faster way to lose support for a movement than to botch it that way over and over and over. And it's like if you were very particular in some of these things, I think you'd have a lot more support and less resistance for what you're trying to accomplish. I just don't get it.
I hear you.
Send me tons of good stories. It's in audiobook format now, correct?
Next week.
Next week.
Yep.
You can get it on Amazon and all that? Yep. What haven't I asked you that I should have? Hunter Biden's cocaine stash location?
Not familiar with it.
Yeah, allegedly.
I'll tell you what, like a thing that I like to share with people that you didn't necessarily, sometimes I get asked, like, why does the FBI even have a SWAT team? One of the reasons I wrote the book, because there are weapons of mass destruction and counter-terror missions that we do that no one else does, so someone has to do those. But when I was in the Air Force, I was at Air Force Special Operations Command as an agent, not as a snake eater. But I was actually in the same building as a 720 Special Tactics guys, so air traffic or combat controllers and pararescue men. And we did different jobs. We had a mutual admiration. We shared a deck, or guys would sit and eat their lunch, and tell stories. And I remember asking as like a pretty dumb young plainclothes captain, like, why is your beret red and yours is red? And they're like, mine's magenta, mine's crimson. And
It's wine, you dick.
right, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And they could tell they're all pissed off at me. And I'm like, I don't understand. And then they break it down, and they were like, we don't like it explained this way, but like we're warrior air traffic controllers, and this is how we bring the fight to the enemy. Oh, okay. Well, we're basically warrior rescue specialist paramedics, and this is how we're different from 18 Deltas or whatever. And, okay, I get now. Okay, I see where you fit into the framework, and the FBI SWAT is part of the nation's special operations framework, the civilian part of our special operations framework. And what it brings to the fight is that it's a warrior detective group. That's one of the things that I think I tried to portray in the book, and that I try to explain to people is it's the only entity, I'm pretty confident, in the U.S. where you have everyone on the team is a trained operator and a detective. And so when they deploy us halfway across the country or to another country and say, hey, here, go do the mission, we can bring a specialty to the fight, like an air traffic control, like a combat controller can do air traffic and is a warrior. The FBI brings that special part to the fight where this warrior detective group that we've been out on ops where we've stopped and like, okay, how would we solve this crime? Let's go collect evidence. Let's go. And even after doing a raid and seeing like that evidence has to be collected, this guy needs to be interviewed. I don't think there's anything else like it in the U.S.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. And great point on, I mean, just, I would say, AFSOC or, Air Force Special Operations, generally speaking, are phenomenal guys. I mean, the combat controllers, the PJs, even from the sounds of it, the investigators are all part of a very elite crew of incredibly competent dudes that I'm glad do what they do, So, phenomenal story. I encourage everybody to get the book and check it out. And I can't thank you enough for coming to share your story.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, have a coin and for you as well. And the box opens from the bottom of the front.
Okay.
Being up in Oklahoma, I don't know if you have a pair of shit kickers, but
Right on.
now you got a belt buckle to go with it. So, to commemorate your experience here on Mic Drop. So,
That was awesome, dude.
Yeah, hope you enjoy it. Again, thank you for coming, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
For you, the listener / viewer, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I do truly hope that seeing some insight, we've had a number of FBI guys on, lately and this year, with the intent of trying to clear up a lot of the misinformation that's out there and the lack of trust, because again, I know a bunch of guys who are consummate warriors that do that, and I think it's doing our nation a disservice to view the entire organization the way that it's largely portrayed these days. So I hope you gained some insight from this interview. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, you can choke yourself. And until next time, this is Mic Drop.